Hello, everyone. We are here because we have a great topic today. It is going to be how to become a YouTube content creator using only your phone. This is a topic I am so personally passionate about. I think it's one of those things that's the easiest way to get into content creation. I use my phone all the time. In fact, I don't just use one phone. I use two. I have both Android and iOS. I think it's an amazing thing to do. But we're also going to be doing something a little after the stream today, and it's a really big reason why we're here. I have an amazing guest. His name is Stanley Orchard, who will be joining me. But we are here to raise money for an amazing cause, which is a charity. We are raising money for the American Cancer Society. And after we're done with our big topic today, we're going to be doing some channel reviews for charity. There is a donation link under this stream here to YouTube Giving. And we are going to have this moment just to give back. And we're going to help those families and people who are battling cancer in any way we can. And this stream is a topic I've been asked a lot. I know a lot of experts in the space, and I wanted to invite my good friend Stanley on to talk about it. So without further ado, let's have Stanley on. Hello, Stanley. It is amazing to have you.
Hey, Andrew, it is an absolute pleasure. It is an honor, sir. I can't tell you how excited I am. I have been bouncing off the walls waiting to have this conversation with you. It's going to be a fun one.
Yes, I fully agree. It is one of those things that we've talked about, collaborating more. This is such a natural way to do it. And I just wanted to start by one of the first things that kind of came to why I wanted to do the stream, where this came from, is I have a couple of YouTube shorts that have blown up about making content for, mobile content creation. And while I do it a lot, it's not something I do all the time. But I know you are someone who is constantly creating content on their phone. So I have a lot of questions here. We're going to be taking questions from you in the audience or in the replay. We're going to also reply to those comments. So if you have any questions about this, please feel free to ask. But my first question for you, Stanley, is specifically around, when it comes to creating YouTube content, how do you organize yourself and plan for creating content when it comes to only using your phone? I'm always very curious about the kind of planning stage. So how do you go about that?
Oh my! Oh, you were just going in for the most glorious response on this one right here. So I am in real life. In a previous life, I am super organized. When at work at previous jobs, like I am that was my whole jobs. Prior to this whole YouTube thing, we're all based on being organized. That having been said, the way that I organize YouTube videos is the most spastic, bombastic, crazy thing, especially nowadays. It is like there is no organization. There is no. The video that I'm going to be hopefully publishing for my primary channel right now is one that I filmed back in February, and I have done reshoots multiple times over the course of the year. And now I finally uploaded it, and I'm ready to publish it. And I'm reviewing it on YouTube before I publish it. I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and do some reshoots. I'm going to do some changes and redo this before I finish it up. There is some structure. There is some method to the madness. I do keep notes on videos. Like I actually have, I got a pile of notes over here, but I do actually have paperwork where I will go and I film. And once I film on my blog channel, which is where I do primarily is fishing content. So after I film, then I know what direction the story is going to go. I have to know that I have to know the end of the story before I can script. But then I will sit down and I will start scripting. And I go through the entire 3 act structure. I write it all out. And then I go and I refilm all of the elements that are needed to make that a cohesive story. I highly suggest if you're doing this on a phone, you get yourself a phone with a lot of memory. That's going to be your best friend.
Yes, I think especially I love when we're talking about organization, like storage, especially with mobile devices, whether it is the device you're using or you use a cloud service like, there's Google Drive, there's Box, there's even Apple's own storage. I think storage, whether you're using a phone or a traditional DSLR, is always a battle. And I think that, you've talked about, sometimes you just come up with it when you're out and about. You were talking about that previous video you have from February. I've been there. I've shot something and I'm like, man, I completely forgot about this. I'm going to go look at it and oh my gosh, what was I thinking? Not saying that that's what you think, but I sometimes will have that thought, or I can improve it even from that time. So I love that you talked about, there's a balance, right? Of when you plan things versus when you have things, organized. I see a question in the chat we're going to get to, but it goes to when it comes to planning videos. I think I love what you said. You have an idea going into it. And I think that one of the things, if you're going to be creating with your phone, especially, is there are so many amazing ways that you can do research on a phone, right? YouTube's own YouTube Studio has the inspiration tab these days, which can give you an idea of what audiences are looking for. You and I are both cut from the same TubeBuddy cloth. There's the TubeBuddy mobile app. There's lots of different apps. But, when it comes to shooting on the
Creative Fuel.
Oh, there's Creative Fuel as well. I mean, I'm down to talk about it, but I don't know.
I'm a huge fan. I use Creative
Fuel on
every video, and it's not. I don't know that it's out there as something that people are talking about. I don't know that they're ready to make announcements on what they do yet. But if you
there's a link in the chat. So if you're interested about Creative Fuel AI, there is an affiliate link in our chat. I disclosed it's an affiliate link just so you know. But it's an amazing resource. It helps you in a lot of different ways. It's something I actually use. And so I'll also put it in the chat if you are interested. But Creative Fuel is a great resource. I think that when it comes to all the resources, a lot of times when people are shooting on the phone, and we got this question in chat, is, do you use a proper tripod, a light, a mic? So I wanted to quickly start this with just saying that your phone, if used correctly in itself, is a proper mic. I think that most people don't consider that you can use your phone as a microphone. That actually is one of my most popular YouTube shorts, is how to do just that. And I think you had a great point before we went on air, is like, what was the original point of the phone? And I'll let you kind of take it from there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a phone. Before we started having camera phones and before we had smartphones and all this stuff, we had a phone, and all of these companies spent decades perfecting the microphone on your phone. You make a comparison to the microphone on your phone to any GoPro or any of those other options out there. And I mean, so yeah, you can get yourself a Shure mic, something like that, and it's going to sound, amazing if you're doing all of the things required to make it sound amazing. But if you're talking about just purely using a mic, the value of the microphone on your phone itself, it almost outweighs the value of having all of the external stuff required in order to plug in and make another microphone work for it.
Oh, almost, but I fully agree with that. I think that, your phone is such a capable device. Like, if you are just getting started, the phone is enough. And maybe you're not using the phone audio in ways you might think. Maybe it's you film a bunch of stuff and you use the phone for voiceover work. I made a YouTube short with Adobe that I was able to use and create with that. Or you can buy like accessories like this. So this is the DJI Mic 2. I use this with the Bluetooth connection in my phone, and you don't need a receiver. It connects through Bluetooth. It's really good with that connection. And then I have a wireless receiver, nothing I have to plug into my phone, Bluetooth, and I use this constantly. It has been one of those good investments. And the thing I like about this, I am big on buying gear that you can upgrade or like use over time. You can buy just the mic itself, usually on sale, at full price $99, on sale usually like $50. But the cool thing about it is you can buy it without the receiver, use the Bluetooth enablement on it to use it with your phone. And for less than a little bit, you have really high quality audio, or you can just use your phone's built-in mic. And I think that's one of those things where when it comes to the gear question, it doesn't have to be expensive. Like a lot of the lights I have, I use a lot of affordable lights because I'm very big on using content that's not going to cost an arm and a leg. And when you're using stuff with your phone, I think thinking, cost sensible is really important. So Stanley, like, what are some of the things you'd recommend if someone wants to get started with shooting on their phone to kind of keep costs low for their YouTube videos?
Man, I am really, really hard on equipment. So part of my budget, like annually, is new tripod, new Joby Gorilla Pod. Traditionally, it's been new, little microphones, little lav mics, and stuff like that, because those tend to wear out once a year. I've invested in higher quality mics myself. I've got like a pack of four pack of Bluetooth mics of lavs that I love to death. So I'm gonna take a little bit better care of those guys. Going it cheap, like I've done the cheap lab thing and it worked just fine for me. But at the end of the day, it was like, man, the mic on the phone, if you just are prepared, if you realize that the phone needs to be X amount of distance away from you, if you can emote and you can talk loud, then you'll be fine just talking just with the regular phone. So I wouldn't even say invest in mics unless you are trying specifically and intentionally to isolate audio. Tripod is going to be a big one, and I have dumbed it down now where I had like a half dozen tripods, because mounting the camera is always like one of the main most frustrating pain points. So I either walk around with 6 different tripods, a tripod and a monopod and a clip-on and a magnet and suction cups and all the different things. I am trying to reduce that down now to where I have just the GoPro clamp on that really seems to work fine. The Joby Gorilla Pod is great. I just have a really hard time. Like I've been through 3 of them now, and I love them to death. That the octopus arm setup is really universal, but man, that thing gets really hard to replace on an 18-month basis. Every year and a half, sure. I've got to redo it. So that's the big one to me, is like mounts.
I think that's also a really good point, is like mounting technology, especially depending what phone you're using. One of the easiest things you can pick up is like a simple phone holder mount. This one from Manfrotto I picked up on sale. I tend to look for sales. Black Friday is a great time to buy gear. There's like Labor Day. There's a lot of different times in the year. I was able to pick this one up for pretty affordable, less than $20. And with its mount on the back, you can add this to a tripod that Stanley was mentioning. It's funny you mentioned a Gorilla Pod. People are like, how do you have I don't have this ready. This is just in my set and it's right here. But one of the things I will say is that all of this is gear, right? And its main purpose is to kind of support what we're trying to do creatively. And a phone is no different. A phone is one of the best pieces of creative gear that you can have, because unlike just a camera or just other pieces of gear, it has so much multifunctionality. There are apps that you can use with the phone to help you create better content. There are so many paid and free apps that really can get a lot done for you. So with that kind of app question, Stanley, what are some of those go-to phone apps that when I just start talking about like mobile apps for content creation, what kind of like steps into your head? What's one of those first things that you think of when it comes to like creating with a phone and mobile apps?
First and foremost, editing. The whole reason I'm even able to have a channel is because I found out one day that you can actually have an editor on your phone. Like that was like a 2015 discovery, and I was like, oh my God, this is a thing that I can do now. So editing software was a big one, obviously. Adobe Rush. I use KineMaster. I'm a big fan of KineMaster. I'm just tired of companies being bought and sold, and KineMaster went through that a couple years ago. It sucked. But still a great app. They still put a lot of work and a lot of elbow grease into that app, and it is great, the advancements they're making on it. Snapseed is an absolute go-to for thumbnails. That is a free photo editor courtesy of Google, and it's really, really high quality stuff for what you can do on your phone. So I'll use that for editing the photo and making a photo look just as good as you can physically look. And then I transfer that. I know there's a lot of different options at this level. After that point, I use PixArt to do text overlays and background removal, or all the different layers of stuff that need to be added. The photo editing options aren't as great in PixArt, but the ability to do layers and text and all that stuff is way better. So those two are phenomenal when it comes to thumbnails. And then I kind of suggest, it's probably really valuable on a number of levels that you might not even be aware of, to have like a screen recorder. I use DU Recorder. Not great. There might be better options out there. I'm just salty and stuck in my ways. So I've been using DRU for years. But that's one where if you're doing stuff on your phone, even me out doing like, fishing vlogs or whatever it is that I'm doing, I still come back and I'm like, oh man, if I need footage that I can put into it that's more representative of, like, hey, this is the beach that I'm at, and this is like maybe something that I didn't get to record, but it's something that you need to know. This is what spring break traffic looks like, or something like that. Then that allows me to use it off of Creative Commons. Or if I need a lower third, you can go to one of those free green screen things and use the DU recorder to record an animation in green screen and use that as yours. Legally, do it right.
Agreed. Especially when it comes to Creative Commons. I think that's a huge win for mobile creators and honestly any creators. I think all those apps are really good, especially KineMaster I've used very, very much so. There's a lot of good apps out there. Those who have watched the channel for a long time may know that I am an Adobe Express ambassador, in full disclosure. I actually use Adobe Express. It was funny. Before we were talking, I'll actually just bring up my screen just to kind of show this. But it was one of those situations where I was on the go and I didn't have access to a computer, but I did have my phone. And the good thing about Adobe is that you can create something on your phone, work on it on your desktop, as you're going to see I'm doing here. And so I showed Stanley this. So I wanted just a very simple background for a YouTube video, just paper moving. I made this with some, images that have Creative Commons use that I'm allowed to use. And so, one of the things that I realized is that I actually may want this for my YouTube shorts as well. And the reason I like Adobe Express is that I can use their resize function, and I made this for 4K, as you can see up here. But they actually have like the dimensions for social and things like that, presentations, all these different things that I'm actually going to zoom in just a little bit for so people can see a little bit clearer. But the cool thing is that they think of the different social medias, right? And for me, when I was like making this, I'm like, oh, actually, I might want to use this for YouTube Shorts. If I go to social videos, go to YouTube Shorts, this is the normal, 16:9. I could just resize this, or I can keep this original, duplicate and resize. You can see I did this actually a little bit earlier. And now all of a sudden I have that same video, but ready for YouTube Shorts. And I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. It's right there. And so that's one of the reasons I like, Adobe Express. You can also do a lot more with it than just that. But for me, when it comes to audio, we talked about that earlier. And this is not just, I don't just use Adobe. It's just obviously they're really simple. All you need to use these free features is an Adobe account. Their enhanced speech is surprisingly good. You upload your stuff and you can access this from your phone. You just put your phone into desktop mode through your options. This has saved me so much time because, again, there are a lot of good audio editing options for your phone. However, I don't always have the time. I see Stanley here is having a crisis, but I don't always have the time to sit there and edit it. And sometimes good enough is better than perfect, especially when you don't have the time to sit there and commit to it. And Stanley, I saw a reaction there. What was that reaction?
So Adobe is amazing and wonderful in a lot of their, like I'm a huge fan of Adobe products just in general. And I know that they have that enhanced speech thing. And because I'm salty and stuck in my stodgy old ways, I'm stuck with the stuff that I've been using. I have not been using the Adobe stuff like I feel like I really need to be. I'm working on that video that I started filming in February, and the re-edits, that thing is supposed to get published tomorrow, but I'm going to do some new edits, and all of that work, like 90% of the labor going into that video and what has been holding me back is audio. And that enhanced speech thing right there probably would have allowed me to publish that video like a month ago.
Sure. And, audio is just such a huge part of the battle when it comes to creating in general, regardless of if you're using a phone or not. And one of the things that I like about using phones is how they are updating sometimes a lot faster than even a traditional DSLR. I think, you and I talked about just how much can be done. One of the points I've heard you say and I've said is that our phones, we can, like, they have made these cameras, these devices have some better cameras than Oscar-winning films. And that just goes to show it's the tool we use for creation. And so for me, when we were talking about, use cases, obviously Apple has a stake here. They're doing this because they are using this in their most recent promo for their new iPhone 16 Pro. But the weekend's new music video was shot solely with the iPhone 16 Pro. A professional music video. They have a lot of, stuff here. I'll put this in the chat and I'll make sure to put this in the show notes. But it goes to show just how much we can do with these devices now, especially because I know that they've worked on making the app better. There's more audio stuff that we can do with phones. And that's one of the benefits of using a phone compared to other devices, is the fact that they do have more refreshes than even a DSLR can have. And I don't know about you, Stanley, but I tend to upgrade my phone every maybe 3 to 4 years. I'm not upgrading my traditional camera that often. It's not that easy to swallow, but I use this every day, not just for content creation, but for a life, right? And I think that's one of the hugest benefits when it comes to having a mobile phone. To that point, Stanley, I know you have a lot of mobile phones. What is your phone of choice right now? And what would you say to someone who's looking to either get into mobile, content creation, or, they're just on the fence about it?
So this is, I don't know if I'm just a masochist or what the case may be. I do not upgrade my phone that often. I wish I did. Like I one of these days, I'm going to be a big famous content creator, and I'm going to make, millions and billions of dollars off of a phone. And when I do that, I'm going to have like the Marcus Brownlee collection of phones, But until then, I don't make a whole lot of money with YouTube channel AdSense and stuff. So I try to operate in the black. And that means I'd only upgrade my phone maybe pretty much every 6 or 7 years. Right now I'm using an S10 Plus that I got. That was like the 2019 flagship. Now I do get a good one. I do try to get a flagship model. I needed a terabyte of memory to record, to be able to hold on to videos, that were filmed in February and continue filming. And I'm doing 20 and 30-minute videos with a lot of edits. It's a lot of footage. So I like Galaxy. I saw some of the stuff that they were talking about on that iPhone 16. I'm not going to lie. I am an Android guy, but I saw them talking about spatial audio, and I was like, oh, wow, that sounds, that's very intriguing. I'm going to be looking into that.
I understand. I am. It's funny. I used to be a never Apple guy, but here I am with an iPhone. But what I've learned is that I had a Pixel, Pixel 3. Before this, I had the Samsung S22. I tend to like phones quite a bit, and I use them every day. So for me, it's that kind of investment. I agree with you. If you're going to look into a phone, do your best to do research on the camera, on the functionality that you want to use. I also agree, if you can afford it, and trust us, we understand affordability is a huge part of why you may or may not use it. We're not saying that what we are recommending is necessarily it's one of those things where if you've already bought this expensive device, you might as well use it for the most it can do. And I think for doing that, it's super important when you're thinking of those things. I see from Homekeeping Channel in the chat, I bought an expensive camera 2 years ago, not used it once. I just love using my iPhone. Just upgraded from a 7 to, that is a huge jump. Congratulations on that.
Yeah,
but
awesome.
It goes to something I think you'd agree with, Stanley, which is use what works best for you. That's something I preached at my TubeBuddy days, which was, people were like, what if I want to use this other tool? Use what works best for you. For me, for a long time, it was Android devices. For right now, it's an iPhone. And it comes and goes for people, and I think that's important.
Another thing to consider on that too is be aware of what you're getting into. If you want to get a DSLR, totally understand that. That's awesome. That's, you really get some good stuff. But be aware, if you are going into DSLR, if you're getting yourself a big, expensive, quote unquote camera, then you are going to have to learn how to be a camera person in order to get the most out of that. Whereas with a phone, you probably don't need to do that. They've got a bunch of presets and stuff that you can use to make it look good. It's automatically set to make it look as good as possible. Also, on the other side of the coin with phones, you're going to hear people talk about things like, it can shoot at 8K in, 120 frames per second. That is lovely. I would love to have an 8K 120 frame per second, shot, but that probably means I've got zero image stabilization. It probably means that I can, record exactly 15 minutes worth of footage before the memory on the phone is entirely shot. There's going to be white balance. There's going to be low light issues, things like that. Just be aware of those sorts of things. At the end of the day, one of the last things I look at, like everything today, is 4K 30. That's a complete standard. You're probably not going to find a device that doesn't record that. So it's not really going to be an issue of, I want to make sure I'm future-proofing myself with 4K 30 or 4K 60 or whatever I can get. The limitations are going to be in the things like the memory on the phone, the little things like what I was just talking about a second ago, where it limits your image stabilization, things like that.
I understand that completely. I think that, when I hear you talk about phone, Stanley, you use it not only for, its intended purpose, but you see it as a whole what you are getting. And I think that's really what we are trying to do when it comes to this conversation today, is that all you are getting is not just a way to tweet, not just a way to text, not just a way to make phone calls, but a way to create content. The iPhone 6 offered 4K, to your point, how you look for 4K. And the iPhone 6 now is a 10-year-old device, if I'm remembering correctly. I believe it came out in 2014. So this kind of functionality has been there for a long time. And I think that, when you're shooting in those things, it goes back to, and I see this from the Iowa fishermen here, storage and like how we can, think of it. I use my phone early on for footage, but haven't so much recently. Storage is becoming more of an issue with maybe only an hour worth of 1080p footage on my phone. I can't stress this enough that most phones, even iPhones these days, use USB-C. There are some really affordable external hard drives that you can connect with your phone. You should always Google, make sure it's compatible. But you can have a physical hard drive that you can bring footage off of your phone, in this case, video, photos, etc. And then you can also do the reverse, bring it back on. I highly recommend that if you're having storage issues and maybe you don't want to use the cloud. I completely get it. So that's just one of those things. You can get like a 2 terabyte hard drive for $60 I've seen on sale. And then you have all that you can offload, or if you are okay with cloud, just use the cloud. But what that gives you is a way to always have that footage and video, obviously back it up in multiple places, but it saves you storage and it helps so much. And so that's one of those things when I think about it. I see from Caden Games here, they say I only use my phone. I don't edit at all. I post for fun and have had viral shorts. I'm just trying to make it more seriously now. And I think that's just goes to show, like, a lot of times, I don't know about you, Stanley, maybe because I'm a gear nerd, I'll think this way, but if I see a piece of content that's really good, the first thing I don't tend to think is, I wonder what they shoot on. I tend to think, wow, it was really good. Then maybe I'm like, now what was it shot on? But how do you feel when you see a piece of content? Like, do you lean with what did they use, or do you think, wow, that was good?
What I'm taken back to, I want to say it was No Country for Old Men. The movie with that guy, is that the one where he was running around with the air tank and he was the killer?
Sounds correct.
I might be wrong about that. What was amazing about that movie, really impressive, it's one of the few movies where they've done something like this, where there is zero music in that movie. They did that on purpose because it gives it an eerie atmosphere. You don't even notice until somebody tells you that there's zero music in that movie. They accomplished that, and the accomplishment there is that you don't notice, you don't realize in a movie where there's like a lot of good music and stuff going on, but you don't notice it because it blends so well. It helps to add to the atmosphere of the movie so well that you don't even notice it. It all blends. Then that artist has accomplished exactly what they're trying to do. And the same goes for your cell phone. If you are so good, it's not if you are so good, but it is physically possible for you to accomplish great art with literally, to be completely honest with you, you don't even need 4K. I could go into a whole thing on that, but like 1080 is totally doable for 86% of the views on YouTube, which occur on a mobile device. And those views occur like this. On horizontal, vertical. You know,
Yes, it
you don't
does.
need 4K to fill that space. So yeah, you
I
can physically accomplish it with like 1080, filming good, and just being more mindful, more scripted, telling a good story, focusing on a good shot, lighting, making it look nice, making it sound nice. Way more important than whether or not your camera is 1080 or 4K.
100% agreed. And I often tell people is like, yes, there are things that you can buy like lights and external mics that help, but again, if you shoot out in the day, which I know you do a lot on your fishing channel, there are ways that you can get shade. You can One of the tips I got from a friend, which was so genius, is they were like, you shoot on your phone a lot. I'm like, yeah. And they're like, well, you notice how you have like blur? He said like just grab your wallet. You can make anything and like a lens hood. And so what I've been starting to do if I'm shooting, I notice like there's lens flares on my camera. I just put like my wallet here to stop flaring.
Oh,
And if you're filming with your
that is
phone,
so next level.
there's so many little things you can do like that. And I've been asked, it's been a few times I've been asked, why are you using such old phones? And it's interesting that someone, one, clocked that the phone was older. Two, I often say it's an interesting thing to care about, but it goes to my point. This is a video I made on like how to make an easy overhead shot. I used my phone for this footage. This is my Google Pixel 3. At the time of this video, it wasn't as old as it is today. This video is 2 years old. But someone commented, that's a really old phone to be making it, but it was good enough for what I wanted to do. And I think that should never be lost. And I'm loving some of the comments we're getting. We got this from DePaul, who said, my S23 Ultra is better camera than my Sony vlog camera now. I do
And
most of my content with my phone now. I see that, when it comes to from Coastal Diva as well, I use my phone first for 99% of my videos, only use desktop to add screens and check analytics. And that's fair, especially. I have a question for you, Stanley, especially when it comes to analytics. One thing I will say, and we have both worked in the software and tech side of the house. What do you recommend when people are like, I would love to learn more about my analytics, but it's just not super well optimized for mobile? What kind of advice do you have for people who may not have a desktop and are just using, their mobile phones? What's your recommendations when it comes to getting better data from, what you've made?
I wish I was you, is what I say about that. Like, I'm a nerd for numbers. I go deep on it. And to be honest with you, like, I feel like I spent a couple of years where I went too deep on it. And one of the things that I'm focusing on now this year is like, I'm still looking at the numbers, like everybody else, 8 times a day to make sure that that one other view came in on that video that just got published. But I like knowing and keeping up to date with all of the real intricate analytics that are available in the YouTube Studio dashboard. But man, that can so easily become such a problem where you focus on that instead of what is most important, and that is making a great video and making something for the viewer, not for the numbers, not for an algorithm. It's about having fun with it. It's about bringing some enjoyment and some joy into the art that you're creating. And I went heavy into analytics and I went heavy into numbers, and that, got me a position in the industry to where now I'm able to sit here and live stream with somebody who I'm very blessed and honored to be live streaming with. So that's cool. And I like knowing all that stuff. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think the most important thing, you need to understand some of the big ones like CTR and AVD. But man, make that video, just make it good. If it's a good video, you are going to be fine.
No, I can't stress the power of just trying to make something good. I say this as someone who has had the luxury of using, a desktop for a long time, especially when it comes to analytics. And like you, most people here know I'm an analytics junkie. But what I would say to those who are, using a phone a little bit more, maybe compared to other devices, that you should always consider that there is so much opportunity and options when it comes to using your phone. I think one of the things I recommend the most for people on mobile devices is look if that app, especially YouTube, the Creator Studio is good. One app that not a lot of people know about, and it is one of those things that YouTube is really pushing, is something called YouTube Create, which is their very own editing software. YouTube has made this for us to use, and so I believe it might just be on Android for now. It isn't still in YouTube loves betas, but I'll put this in the chat. It is a really solid app, especially if you're looking to, get started. It's quote YouTube, easy to use, direct to YouTube, and my favorite price, it's free. Now, here's the thing. It does a lot captions. I know we got a question earlier from, Black Warrior Lures, who said, is there a way to add filters? I'm not sure if you meant like traditional camera filters, but this has, in video filters. It also, to your point, Stanley, has audio cleanup. So it does, like, even YouTube themselves is making apps. So, like, yes, it's important to look at analytics, but also look at what apps are available. Most people know about YouTube Creator Studio. A lot don't actually know about YouTube Create. And so this is why I always say it's important to know about this and what options you have. We do have a question here. How does this compare to CapCut? I have only used CapCut a little bit, so I'm not super familiar with it. However, I know that YouTube made this because when TikTok acquired CapCut, they wanted to compete. From friends who use CapCut a lot more than they said it's comparable, if not just a little behind. But of course, it came later, right? So it's not going to have all those things. What I would say is that YouTube historically, they tend to like gravitate into what, like they want to support their own stuff is the nice way to say it. So that's something to consider. I do see it's only available on Android in select markets. So if you try to use it, you may not have access due to that. So I think that's another benefit of CapCut comparatively, is that it's probably available on more devices, but there are so many resources, if you are not aware of them, that are super helpful just to know, like this, right? And I think that as we think of being not, I wouldn't say you're limited is in like that way in like app design, but I will say sometimes, and Stanley, I'm sure you can talk to this, how do you get around the feeling that like the mobile app is a secondary citizen to the main? How do you kind of combat, like, it's clear they made an amazing website version, but the mobile app might be not as good. How do you kind of handle that?
Man, I like it. I'm not going to lie. Like, I do like the mobile app. I like that it is a simpler version. I like that they pull all of that stuff away from me so that when I wake up in the morning, I'm not checking detailed, analytics that I can like dive into on a much deeper level when I first wake up in the morning, because obviously that's the first thing that I look at in the morning in bed is the mobile app. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously there's going to be limitations to what you can, what you can manage to put out on an app like that. There's data limitations that an app can use on a phone so that they can be, more usable for a larger percentage of people. That's normal. So what they have accomplished with the limitations that all apps are required to have, I like the mobile app. I like what they're doing with it. I like the weekly updates and recaps and the notes that they're providing. I like the analytics that they provide. I'm a fan. Oh, Andrew, audio. I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. I like how you said you don't look at it as a negative. You look at it almost as if I'm going to be limited, I might as well use what I can and not focus on the part that I don't have access to. And I think that's a mindset that's super important, not only if you're a mobile creator, but just a creator in general. I can't tell you how many times, whether it's through cost, whether it's through location, whether it is through just the ability to do it myself, I think it's so much more important to, instead of looking at the limits, look at what we can do within those limitations. Like, some people find that YouTube Shorts are too limiting, speaking of limits. They're like, I don't know how to be creative in 60 seconds. In some ways, I find that more freeing because I have to get to the point. I have to tell a pure story, and I have to really get it done. So my question is to you, Stanley, as someone, who makes a lot of content on the phone, how do you balance creating a normal 16:9 YouTube video with a 9:16 YouTube short? What is that balance point?
I'm miserable at it. You were talking about how Adobe offered that feature where it can automatically take your landscape and thing and put it into vertical. And I was sitting there like behind the scenes. I was literally like, "Oh my god, why am I like this?" Because I've been using KineMaster forever since day one, and I really do like KineMaster. Had some issues with some of it, but like overall, I have a lot of love for KineMaster or KineMaster, however it's pronounced. I'm just gonna say KineMaster. But man, one of the limitations of that is there is not a physical way of taking my landscape video that I have done and turning it into portrait. I literally have to go and pull the exact same clips, create a new file, and start over. It's not good at it. It's miserable. But I do believe in putting in the work at the same time. If it's worth making, I believe that it's worth taking the time to create the new file in a vertical format, putting it in, doing all the legwork. I'm also a big believer in optimizing shorts videos. I think that they're worth, like if it's worth taking the time to make that video, to edit it, to publish it, and to do all of the things, then it's probably worth taking just a minute to finalize and just, wrinkle out or iron out the wrinkles and the metadata. And, if you're going to use a tool like TubeBuddy, the thumbnails on it even, there's some value to that.
No, I agree, especially like I love how you said you're willing to put in the work. And I do think that while there are a lot of apps that help save time and do the things, whether you're doing it with a DSLR or you're using your phone, putting in the work is part of the process. Now, yes, with a lot of the AI tools, they're making that a lot easier. And I like AI tools as much as the next guy, but there's still something about just creating the content that just gets me excited. And I think that can't be understated enough, is that there's still this sense of wonder when it comes to creating. And I love that part of it. I think that making it with my phone and making shorts or making those things helps me keep that sense of wonder, especially when, at times I often say YouTube's a treadmill and like, you're always on this. So for me, when you're on that content creation treadmill, I think it's important to kind of balance that, especially considering that even marathon runners have to take breaks, and that, maybe a break for 9x16 content is you try more normal videos, or maybe normal videos you pivot into shorts for a little bit and you keep the focus on what your audience is. I know that a lot of times with how easy it is to make a video on your phone, like creators are like, well, I just shot this quickly on my phone, I put it up, but it has nothing to do with my audience. How do you stay focused with that ease of being able to create anything? How do you stay focused on what your value of a channel is? Especially when, like right now, I could go out and film my cat, post that on my channel. It doesn't really have anything to do with it, but I could do it, right? So how do you balance that ease, Like how do you balance like staying focused with how easy it is to create on devices like your phone?
So it is important to stay. I'm a firm believer in, you stick to your niche and you do your thing. But I've got two things that I would do on this. And first and foremost, the number one thing, because I don't want, like, I'm a numbers guy and I believe in, following all the rules and best practices and all that stuff. Now, I will say the number one rule on this for me is that I need to be enjoying this. I need to be having fun. I need to be able to express myself and all of that stuff. So rule number one, what on my channel, 5% of my videos are mine. They are for me, and I do not care. If I feel like making a cat video, then out of every 100 videos, one of those is a cat video, and that's fine. I can make a cat video, and that's just about me, and that's for me, and that's me getting to enjoy what I do, and that's me getting to express myself and have fun doing what I'm doing. Now, that having been said, you got to be careful about that. You don't get to take 10%. You only get to do like the one out of every 100 videos or whatever the number, one out of every 20 videos, whatever it is. But, that having been said, on the other side of the coin, I don't know. I kind of lean more into like I get to do it once in a while, and I'm just very careful about it. I'm trying to think where it's like, I can't think of a good example of another like thought process on how to go about doing that. Because there are other things that you can do, but I'm just big on like, giving myself a little bit of freedom. I'm sorry, you're muted.
Sorry about that. It keeps doing that, but I think that freedom, especially when it comes to content creation, it can be both a positive and negative. I think,
Yeah.
but I think the freedom to create anything we want is great. But it's also like I tell people when it comes to your YouTube channel, there are times and places to do that. Like
Yeah.
if Stanley is the best fish shack in town, everyone knows Stanley's Fish Shack. We all go there. It's the best day part of the week is when we get to go have his amazing fish. And then Stanley comes the next day and goes, "You know what? We're no longer a fish place. You know what we are now? We are an amazing flower shop." It's not that the flower shop was bad, but if I go to my favorite fish shop and they start telling me we closed and now we're only flowers, it's like, oh, well, it's not that I don't like flowers.
I was getting like kind of lost on track, but that's I think another. So that was the other side of the coin. The other thing that I was kind of like where I got lost. You can like if you were going to do like some cats. I'm doing fishing content on my primary channel or whatever the case may be. If I want to make like something about the cat, like I filmed something interesting, you can incorporate that into a video. You might not be able to make a 30-minute cat video. That's unfortunate, but you could probably have some fun throwing in a 30-second or 1-minute clip. Have some fun with that. Implement it into the fishing content or the homekeeping stuff that you're doing, whatever the case may be. You can implement it in there. You can fit it in, have some fun with it, but then stay on topic. You can do that.
Of course. And like there are some very viral institutions that like their mascot is that, right? Or it's that situation of you got to maintain focus because your audience learns to depend on you for something. It doesn't mean you don't grow, you don't experiment. But when you are learning and when you are developing your channel, especially with a phone, it's super important to stay on point because you do have that ease of access to create anything. And that's something I think a lot of us struggle with. I think it's part of the journey of creating is like really fine tuning what you want. And, you know, even yourself, I've had multiple channels in the past. Stanley, I know you have 2 channels. You have My Mobile YouTube, you have Stanley Orchard. How, when you are creating content, do you kind of decide where it goes? Like, what is your thought process when you're doing that?
Luckily, I mean, I've got two really varied things. I am out filming when I'm going to do filming fishing content. I mean, I'm waking up at 3 a.m. I've got the whole trip planned out. I'm going out on the boat or the beach or whatever the case is. That's going to be. I'm focusing on fishing. For the stuff that I do on My Mobile YouTube, that's more of like somebody will ask me a question. It's been happening for years, you know, since you and I have known each other. You'll hear somebody say something, or you'll hear somebody ask a question, and it's like, man, why is there like a video about this? Somebody asked me a question just a couple of days ago. They're like, hey, how did you create that QR code? And it's triggering to hear that question because how I actually created that QR code is I was doing it for a friend of mine. I was doing some artwork for him for his YouTube channel, and I had to go and subscribe to one of those stupid websites and pay to get the QR code. I gave it to him. He created a big like $60 banner that he took to the farmer's market and he hung up. And then I canceled the subscription to that site, and the QR code now no longer worked on this banner that he spent $60 on. So I had to go make a new one, and I had to print stickers, and I sent it to him to go put it on the. It was a nightmare and a pain. And it all came down to what you really actually have to do is this little secret thing you can do in YouTube or in Google Chrome and do the exact same thing for free instantly. So when somebody asks me that, I'm like, I'm just going to make a video about this. Like it's triggering, it's inspiring. So I made that, like the video that I put out yesterday. That was it. I just got triggered and inspired by somebody asking me that question. But it's okay. It's a short video. I spent more time sitting here and telling you the backstory on this than I did in the video. So,
And I'm just gonna make Stanley want to use Adobe Express even more because, like you mentioned that they have a free QR code generator.
Yeah,
You can use it for more than just YouTube. So it's one of those situations that like I've used this for myself, right? And like you can choose different colors, you can choose different formats. You just enter in a link, you can choose your style. You like there's a lot you can do, and it stays for a long time. And it's like one of those situations where like I think when it comes to what your friends know and what you know. The good thing about this English Fun Zone is Adobe Express. That's a free prop. Like 90% of Adobe Express is free. That's why I like it a lot. The QR code generator is free. That's why I draw attention, because there is this mindset. Adobe Express is $9 a month, which I understand for a lot is very expensive, but their free version is completely usable. Like, that's why I like it. And so I try to keep cost in mind, especially if you're a mobile content creator, because I understand, like, gear is expensive, you know? I'm sure Stanley, you would agree with that.
Yep. Yeah, that old annual tripod replacement.
But, there's some stuff that is not gear related that you can do on your phone. So a great example of that is, we talked about earlier, just using like your wallet to be a makeshift lens hood. There are also other things that if you're trying to create, or you want a different point of view and you're shooting, you're shooting vertical, if you ever flip your camera upside down like this, you get a different amount of angle. And then in your editor, you can just reverse the image. So if you're trying to get low to the ground and you're struggling shooting low to the ground like this, turn your phone upside down. In your editor, just flip it right backside up. And then all of a sudden you have a low angle camera that you can trace, you can bring around. And so it's one of those situations that I really appreciate about phone creation, is that these are light. I'm not sitting here, like, I love my cameras. I'm using a DSLR here. I have one over there. I have multiple DSLRs, but they're heavy after a while. And my phone is so light. Yep. It's one of those things that, like, it's not a hidden advantage, but it's just, you might not be thinking about it. Adobe Express is included in the Adobe suite, depending what you have. You should definitely check it out. I have a link in the description, an affiliate link. Again, in full disclosure, if you're just joining, I am an Adobe Express ambassador. We've talked about other stuff that's not Adobe, but it's just one of those things. You mentioned the QR generator, but there's a lot of honesty that, that question is not only useful for your friend, but useful content for what you create, Stanley. So I think that sometimes as creators, if multiple people have asked you the same question, that's a great time to do a video.
Yes.
So,
and that's not just a YouTube thing. That's like you in the chat, you watching this video right now. If you hear questions, and not just hear them, if you are watching a video and you see, and you're going down, you write a comment, you see somebody like writing about these things, and you're like, man, I've got answers. Go make that video. Like right then and right there. Drop what you're doing. Go make that video.
No, I love that, because it's so simple, but community doesn't just have to be your own. Engaging with someone else's community is a great way not only to help yourself, help them, but expand your own. Because to that point, multiple people probably have the same question. Speaking of questions, we got another one from the Iowa Fisherman. Do you guys use slow motion function on the camera, or do you slow through the editing software? So I will let you want to take this first, Stanley, or do you want me to?
Doing it with the phone. And this takes, you kind of have to be wired for it. You have to know what it's going. I am huge on recording in slow motion. Every single time I go out fishing, if I'm doing something on the primary channel that's more, visually oriented, it's supposed to look better. So, man, I'm trying to get water shots, splashes. I'm trying to get shots, really dynamic shots of the fish and the scenery around. And so that entails things that are moving fast. I want to go slow in my footage, and things that are going slow, I want to move fast. So for example, I'm going to throw a hyperlapse or a time lapse on clouds going by, the sunrise, things that go slow. If I've got a fish that's splashing around, I am filming with the slow motion. That's not editing. That's not any post tricks. That's me actually trying to capture that shot with the slow motion on the phone.
See, I love how that, like, even in that, you think about it a different way than I do. And I think that, when I think of slow motion, I went to film school, right? So I have like the classic, like, the first thing that comes into my head if I'm going to do slow-mo is I'm going to go to the highest frame rate as possible, because it's easier to, when you are doing slow-mo, the more frames you have, the easier it is to remove it and make the motion look good. Some phones can shoot up to like 4K, 120 frames per second, which frames just means the amount of like data and information it captures. The downside of doing it that way is goes back to storage, right? The more you're capturing, the more storage you need. So I would recommend, if you have the space and if you have the option, I would go higher and then bring it down. But as Stanley said, he gave you a different way to see the same, get the same result, right? It just also goes back to a lot of what you're happy experimenting with. I think that experimentation, we've talked about it, whether creatively or personally, is so important, even more so than what gear we're using, phones included. So, Stanley, how do you keep experimenting creatively with using your phone? Like, has there been anything that you've tried that you've really liked recently with using your phone and you're like, dang, I got to share this with others?
Yeah, I so a couple of years ago, I've been doing this a couple of years now. I I really like the entire intention of my primary channel, which is my fishing channel. That's my vlog channel. The primary reason for doing that whole thing was that, you know, we have a lot of fun. It's really neat. We get to see things that not a lot of people get to see. And I wanted to share that. So in the process of doing that, you know, I like to get underwater. I like to show during storms or whatever the case may be. And as a part of that, I started having a real difficult time filming like underwater, because you're trying to hold the camera, but you're doing this, and no amount of image stabilization is going to be able to solve you from like filming when you're underwater. It's just a pain. So I started filming with the slow motion, like we were talking a minute ago, and I will not film. I'm not going to say I won't film, but 99% of the footage that I record, if I'm underwater, is going to be recorded in slow motion. It's just buttery smooth. It makes everything just look so much better. I basically, I will record B-roll in not slow motion, and then I will record my main roll in slow-mo, my A-roll.
But that's just even something I haven't thought of, right? Like, that is so usable in other ways too. Like, thinking to go higher frame rate when you're underwater, thinking of just how you can film underwater, like that just gives a new perspective, especially with a fishing channel. If you are someone who is cooking, maybe you want to like show technique, so you film at a higher frame rate to really show like your dicing technique. Like if you are cleaning something, maybe you do slow-mo of like how you can fill the rim of the cleaning. Like there's so many different ways that, especially with a phone,
Yeah.
like I this is one of those things where it's like use what you have, right? So one of the ways that I've experimented creatively is there was a shot I was helping a friend. She wanted to show how she cleans the interior of a toilet bowl. She's a cleaning channel. Shout outs to Homekeeping channel. Wasn't Susan, but it was a cleaning channel. She's like, how do I get the inside of the bowl? I'm like, it might sound dirty, but you are cleaning the toilet, which is what we're here to do. So she cleaned the toilet, and I'm like, what if we use the toilet seat? She had a case on her phone to hold the phone so that you can show that internal shot of you spraying the stuff. And sure enough, it worked. And it gave a unique perspective, because I could not do that with a DSLR. But this unique shape, the flatness of this, allowed us to be creative in a way that got the shot was amazing. Like I was very surprised at how well it turned out, because it's a weird shot, but it's what she wanted to do, right? But sometimes it's
Shots
those
like that though are magic.
Right, because like think about it, it's different. I've never seen it, and I was like, I mean, it was a shot in the dark for multiple reasons, no pun intended. But that's what I like about phones. It makes you think outside of that box.
Dude, I tell you what, one of the things that I invest in, and this is also an annual purchase because we're so rough on equipment, but it is a waterproof case for the phone every single year. For myself and my wife, we both have waterproof cases on our phone so that we can film whatever we need to film whenever we need to film it. And shots like that, like this is one of the reasons why we do the waterproof stuff, because my approach to that exact same shot, I want to get extreme and I want to try to get the best, craziest shot I can get. I'd have dropped that phone in the toilet and filmed, probably in slow-mo.
I just imagine you also filmed the drop in the toilet in slow-mo just to give a perspective.
Yeah,
and we just
to have
Stanley's...
footage, man. It's all about that content. Video assets.
But again, I love, like, this is why talking with your fellow creative friends is so important. Like Stanley and I have we've approached the same kind of ideal in different ways. And that's a great point. Like she didn't have a waterproof phone case, and like obviously for her to go out and buy it might have been a little much. But if she did, and like Stanley does, it's just a reminder I could also buy that, and that's a great thing to think of because it gives your phone even more utility. But if you want
Yeah.
to meet other creators and chat with people, I highly recommend joining our Discord server. We'll have a link in the description as well. You know, we have a lot of creators, myself included. Stanley's there. Shout outs to Ike, who's been in chat, my co founder. Wouldn't be able to do it without Ike. And a lot of you I know are in the Discord, but it's a great place if you have questions like what I've seen here, you can ask. It seems StreamYard has frozen my camera.
I got you. Here, I'm
You
going to
can
move my lips to
still
talk.
yeah, Stanley's gonna just mimic for me. But it goes to show, right? Like even when like what I'm using, right? We're using gear, things can go down, they can, you know, things cannot work as intended.
Live happens. It's
Live
If you're
happens.
going to go stream, you need to be ready. If you're going to live stream, you got to be ready for that. Live happens. Dude, I'm going to type it in the chat because this is like every single live stream I'm ever on. I might be bad luck. I don't know, but live happens. That
No,
needs to be
we're
a
back
t-shirt.
now. Live happens is actually that's a great shirt idea. I think that, you know, when it comes to, you know, live streams and lives happening, I also want to remind people that there are now devices and apps that make it possible to use your back camera to live stream. And I had a friend of mine, she's a beauty creator. She's like, "How can I live stream with just my phone and still see the chat and see myself?" I'm like, "Well, you already have like she personally had multiple mirrors. So she just duct taped a mirror on the other side of her phone that like
Yeah, I've seen.
reflected
You
it
can get a
back at
mirror
her.
sticker. I've seen that.
And all of a sudden she could see what was happening, and it just gave a different way that she could use her phone. There are apps like StreamYard, which have a very good app that lets you live stream. I know there are a few others that let you, like Elgato lets you create and turn your phone into a webcam with their app. So there are a lot of different apps that make it easy to live stream. Also, YouTube itself, you can just go live, whether vertical or traditional horizontal, like Stanley and I are doing. And I think that when it comes to live streaming, you absolutely can on your phone. Do you have any tips for people who might want to start live streaming on their phone?
Do it. Just do it. Like literally, not right now, not right now this minute, because we're all hanging out and having a good time. But as soon as this stream is over, you need to just pick up your phone and just hit live and then just see what happens. Literally, like even if you're doing it unlisted, if you've never done a live stream, do an unlisted live stream for 10 minutes. You will grow like 10 levels just doing that if you've never done one. It's unlisted, so nobody's going to see it. You're totally fine, but you will kind of experience and begin the process of learning how to talk to a camera when there is nobody chatting, because we all have to go through that phase of the live stream process. You're going to go through the weird kind of thing that you have to do where you're talking to a phone for a long time and you have to hold down to where there's no dead air and all of that stuff. So you kind of get accustomed to that, and then on top of that, you can go back to that unlisted video and watch it, and you can learn from that experience alone. What does your audio sound like? What do you look like? What do you need to fix? What does your live stream look like versus somebody else's? There's just like so much to learn simply by doing that one little thing. Just go live, just do it, just hit the button so that you can learn all of these different things. I'm not even kidding. Live happens. I type that into every single live stream that I go to, and I live stream. My wife hates me for it like 8 times a week. She's telling me I got to cut back on live streams. And it's every time because something happens. So get out there, do it. Just start learning, start experiencing it, and let us know when you do. I'm happy to jump in and say hi on those.
Same.
Well, my wife said no, but
We can watch. But
Yeah,
the thing
yeah.
I would also say is if you're using your phone, don't be afraid of sunlight if you have it. House lamps may not give you the best lighting possible, but it's better than nothing. There are ways that you can use everyday items and objects or even buy them. Like this light bulb from Aperture is it's a little costly, but if you want a piece of gear, it's like 70 bucks. The thing I like about it is even if you don't want to film content anymore, you still have a good light bulb and you didn't buy something you can really never use again. And if you want to pick it up later, the good thing is you have it. Like I tell people all the time, and in fact, I'll go even a step farther to just like show like what I'm talking about. I'm gonna cut my big lights here just to kind of show off just something that you can buy. Like I'm holding this now, and so let me just quickly, we'll turn off that. It's not perfect, and obviously I haven't planned and prepped perfectly for this, but It's better than nothing, and this isn't even on as high as it can go. And it just goes to show, right? Like it's what you have on you and how you use it. So for me, if I'm looking here, I'm trying to find the right angle. I'd probably have just like a house lamp here. It's not perfect, but it's better than this. And it's one of those situations where you can do a lot with a little. And I can't stress that enough to people, especially when it comes into getting started with all of this.
I don't have any on me now, but man, I'm a big fan of, and I'm not using it right now, but my entire lighting setup here is like probably $15. But they've got those. I know Nick Nimmin talks about this all the time. Those five whatever $10 can lights you can get at
Yeah.
Walmart. That and some wax paper. Don't cheap out and don't put the wax paper on there to kind of soften that light a little bit. Get the low 40-watt bulbs, the daytime lighting. You know what I mean? Like there's little things you can do, but man, I'm not like I did that lighting for you. I did that lighting, and I would still be using that as lighting today. I actually do still use that lighting to this day. Little $5 can lights with wax paper on them. The only reason I am not using them right now is because I did a sponsorship deal with a company for this pink and blue lighting that I've got is Phil on here. I did a
Mhm.
sponsorship deal for those guys, and it was literally like these are $20 lights. I had one little deal like we traded. I'll put them in a video, talk about them, you send them to me for free, no money exchanged hands. If it wasn't for that one simple little deal, I would be 100% on just those $5 wax candle, not candle, the can lights.
Well, and
They work.
again, I think can lights are good. I think, getting good bulbs in those can lights
Yes,
is important.
that's the more
That's a
important
different
part.
conversation. Wax paper is slightly different. You can usually find it. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. It's just a good way to use as what's called diffusion. You can
Yeah.
also buy diffusion sheets of paper. They're like you can get a pack for like $5 at some websites, which might be a little bit better. I use diffusion paper. Like it used to be a lot more expensive. Now for $5 I get 10 sheets. So really use if you have like, wax paper or baking paper or something that you can diffuse the light with, do it. Shower curtains are an excellent way. I have a whole video on how you can like use the sunlight to have good lighting with just a shower curtain. I picked up that shower curtain for like $8 at Target, and if I don't need it, I can use it as, of course, what it was meant for, a shower curtain.
I could take a
So
shower some days.
exactly. Now, ever since my partner's been like, "Well, where's the shower curtain?" But that's a different debate. No, we have more than one shower curtain. But it goes to show, like, what I try to do is when I look at like content creation and gear, I'm also aware that some people just want to try things, and sometimes buying a $300 light that you tried and failed isn't worth it. But buying a shower curtain, putting it over your window to get good light, or buying some can lights that you can use in your garage or for, your other work. Finding stuff that's not going to break the bank but still empowers you to create is so important.
Yeah, one of the things that I don't do it much here just because I've got my little setup right here. But if I'm off at one of those conferences, Vid Summit or something like that, then I'm definitely going to live stream. And that's difficult because you can't really bring a live stream set up,
Yep.
when you're doing something like that. So the first thing I do is this is what I do every time when I go to a conference like that is I go to the light, not the light, I go to the window and I move furniture. Like I put the like I either put the phone in the window because that's going to be my light source, and I look around the room. Okay, how am I going to dress my hotel room out so that it looks presentable? I'm going to shut the bathroom door if it's in the background. I'm going to move the little lamp thing over so that I have some fill light, and I'm going to move I'm going to make sure that the bed is made and that I don't have a bunch of underwear or something strewn out all over the bed. That room is going to be impeccable and in perfect shape, and it's all going to be like moved around and dressed up so that is in good shape. But literally, like the main focal point of that entire deal is the window. I am going to be in front of the window. That is going to be my lighting source. Everything else, like maybe a lamp here or there, a little bit of fill, but it's all based around that window.
And I think that, using that window or using what you have, like this is a simple setup I recommend for mobile creators. This is called what's like a magic arm. So
Yeah,
I
I love
have
those. I love them.
they're like this one I got I think for $15, which again, we're trying to keep investment in our gear down, and I also use it in general. But like here's a great way I actually use this one. I will put my phone on a tripod like this. So I have my, if I'm using my GorillaPod, I just use the two connectors here, use it like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then because I have this arm that is off camera, if I'm using it this way or if I'm using it like this, I can just attach a light like this, which this light was pretty affordable. I got it for like $30.
Yep,
All of
got
a
one of
sudden,
those too.
all of a sudden, I now have a little bit more reach with this. I have a good light source that I can use to light my videos. I put this on my tripod like this, and all of a sudden, just from using my phone, I'm using a little bit more gear. And again, this whole setup outside of the phone, maybe less than $70. And then I put it here. I have this rig. I have a light. I can make this light very bright. One thing I like about this little light is how bright it gets. Like you can really see.
That's adjustable is nice.
Yeah, and if you want even more, RGB. So again, it's about what you have on you, how you use it. I'll put my little setup here, but it goes to show, right? Like it is not that hard when you ask questions or you think about what you need. And I would say gear, even for phones, can be used for other ways. Like all this gear I use outside of it. I actually use this magic arm a lot to boom another phone. So like if I'm with a friend, I'll use it to I'll put another phone on here so that I can use it as a microphone if I don't have an external mic.
Oh, nice. See, I'll do that as my immediate thought on that, because I'm on the same page with you, having the second phone there. But my immediate thought is like, do I put a second phone on there and do it vertically to do a vertical live stream to maybe a different platform, or maybe I'm going to record that footage and use that as a video? It's like, what's the secondary thing the secondary point of value, bit of value that I can get out of like content created with a second recording? I didn't even think about using it as just a mic.
Yeah, and like that's one of those things that's again simple, but you can do it yourself. And this setup here, I mean, just the clamp, the mic. I'm looking at it. The clamp cost me like $12 because I bought it on sale. The light cost me $30. So what are we at? 42. The clamp is 12. So under $60, and I've been able to add on to my phone in ways that matter and can help me do things. And I do see Temu is an option. My only thing about Temu is I've known too many creators who've had their like stuff stolen, data stolen. It's not that I don't think it's a good website, just be cautious. It's one of those things where I've seen it too many times, but if you're looking for good lighting brands that are pretty affordable, there's Godox, Aperture, Small Rig, there's like, just thinking on the top of my head, those are some that come to mind. But you know what else comes to mind, Stanley, is that we are going to start transitioning to the channel reviews here soon. So I have one question for you, and there have been people even now that have asked, can I actually create a YouTube channel with just my phone? To those people, what would you say?
You're doing that. You know that question triggers me. So to anybody who asks, can you do this with a phone? Can you do YouTube with a phone? It's not a question of whether or not you can, because you absolutely can. 90% of the time, you probably should. If you are like, you need to just jump into it. Like I've said that multiple times already. If you're going to do YouTube and you're waiting because you haven't been able to afford that DSLR or whatever the holdup is, but you've got a perfectly good mobile device in your pocket, then you need to jump on it and you need to start doing that now. Do it with the phone. You don't need that super expensive camera. They don't have to be super expensive. You don't need a regular camera. You've got it all set up in front of you right there. If you don't need to go and learn how to do filmography and cinematography on a camera to make YouTube videos, dude. You've got it with your phone. It's easier. It's not going to be like, the learning curve is a lot easier, a lot more accessible for you. You probably should be doing it on your phone. I'm not going to say everybody should be, but you probably should be doing it on your phone.
And you know, I fully agree. I think that if you are looking to get started in YouTube, your phone is
He
enough.
gives me more of a hard time about filming with a phone than any other person I know. He's lying through his teeth right now.
I
He
am
doesn't.
not. I've changed my stance. I used to say, and that's I actually appreciate that. I used to say, and keep in mind, Stanley, in 2015 it was a lot harder. Let's both be real to shoot
No,
out
no,
just
no.
your
Yeah,
phone.
you're right about that.
But the industry has finally come around, so I can say, Stanley, you are always right. And I always have used. I stand by use the.
Always right.
No, when it comes to this, yes. And I will say, I've always said use the best camera you have on you. And for
Yeah.
most of us, it is this. It is this phone right here. And the cool thing is about using your phone for content creation, your everyday photos, they're going to get better because you've gotten so used to using this amazing piece of tech. I would show you my other phone, but it's in use as a, I guess, a prop at the moment. But when it comes to creating content, phone footage is a great way to do it. I do it with my own content. I recommend it. Like I said, we showed this earlier in this video I made about how to create, overhead shots. I used my phone. It's one of those things where it is such a usable piece of gear. If you're wondering if I should make content using just my phone, let me just tell you, the time is now. If you're wondering on if I should use my phone to create content, absolutely do it. You've heard from Stanley, you've heard from me. Using your mobile phone is one of the easiest ways that you can create content as a content creator. The best part about it is as you update your phone over time or not, it'll get better. As you are creating with it, you'll get better as not only a videographer, but a photographer and a content creator because you're using all the tools you have available to you. Stanley, I will say, I think we are ready to transition to the charity side of the house. What do you think?
You know what? I think that I'm going to jump into that and beat everybody else to the punch for the first one.
Are you going to be donating it to the chat?
Yeah, is it through, it's through the chat, right? It's the
Yeah, it's the giving link at the bottom of the screen of the live stream. So if you don't know what Stanley's doing, I'll give a little quick how you can do this.
better be quick. I'm still going to beat you.
Stanley's going to beat me, which is not a bad thing. So we are doing channel reviews for charity right now. And if you are unaware, under the live stream, whether you're on mobile or there's a donate button. By clicking on this, you are helping us in our fight of challenging cancer. We are raising money for those who, whether they're experiencing it firsthand or they're battling it firsthand or their family members, we are trying to come together to raise money for charity. If you donate, we will be doing channel reviews for charity. You can give it to the chat, as Stanley said he's going to beat us all and do, or you can just donate and we will look at your channel standard. We are just trying to help raise money for an amazing cause. It goes to the American Cancer Society. YouTube Giving covers it all. It is an amazing cause. If you can or can't donate, that is not a problem. This is a great opportunity for people to learn about, what they can do to improve their YouTube channel and raise money for an amazing cause. So we're just really happy that all of you have joined us. I've seen we have 16 people watching now. We are going to be doing something pretty amazing, and Stanley is going to be donating his to the chat. And the way that we do this is with that, we will have a word that you can type in a bit later. And it's one of those situations that we've raised $270 thus far. And it's just been an amazing opportunity for us to continue to give back to the community. I have experienced loss through, unfortunately, to someone with cancer. I know many people have. So it's just one of our ways to give back and say thank you. So if you have questions about your channel, if you would like a channel review, please stick around. We're going to be doing those. So as we continue, I know Stanley's working through it. One of the things I will say is the word will be, since Stanley's working on it, we're going to donate these, give it to Stanley. Stanley, I saw you made a face. What's up?
Yeah, I forgot my Google password.
You could still beat Stanley.
Life happens. I'm still
Life
racing to beat
happens.
the clock here.
So all you'll have to do is type in hashtag Stanley, and then from there we go. If you are interested in getting one of the donated channel reviews, type in hashtag Stanley into the chat for your opportunity.
That looks so nice. That needs to be a shirt.
Hashtag Stanley.
Yeah.
Good luck fighting the Stanley Corporation.
I make jokes about that on the channel all the time. The stickers. This is one at the grocery store. They got the stickers that say "Do not enter" on the doors, like for the exit door or whatever. And they're made by Stanley. So the sticker literally says "Stanley, do not enter." And I always tell them, like, man, I don't know why you got anything against me. I buy all my tackle here.
You're like, I'm doing this in the best legit way I can.
Yeah.
But all you have to do if you'd like to enter in to get your channel reviewed, just type in hashtag Stanley into the chat. So this is a great opportunity. We're giving back in multiple ways. I will also do another charity channel review stream. So that's a reason if you are interested in just that side of the house, if we don't have time to get to you. Even if we don't, you can still donate to an amazing cause, which is the American Cancer Society. And yeah, so we have 17 people watching. Feel free to enter hashtag Stanley in the chat to have your channel reviewed. It's a great opportunity.
Oh, I'm not going to say it because I don't want to be like biased or anything, but I'm curious between one of these channels that is entered. I'm very curious in seeing that channel.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. I'm going to be unbiased. Like, I'm not going to say, I'm very curious to see a channel review on this channel.
Oh, Stanley's like, I know who it is.
My Google password is, man. I don't know why it's not letting me log in, dude. Google, come on. Is anybody else having that problem trying to make a donation? Is it just me?
I can't say I have, but I do want to give a massive shout out to Yank Your Crank, who has beat Stanley and donated $5 to the American Cancer Society. So I will be pulling up your channel. If it is pulled up later, we will donate it, if that's okay with you, Yank Your Crank, to donate it back to the chat so someone else has the amazing opportunity. But the word is hashtag Stanley. So Stanley, as you're figuring it out, you can either join me on the review or I can take over. Let me know. But we are going to go ahead.
Go ahead. I'll jump in that. I will get money in here. I promise.
I understand. Hey, live happens, I've been told. Stanley's like, dang you. All right, but we're going to get started with Yank Your Crank. Right off the bat, I see a channel banner. I will say this, and I've been calling this out because YouTube made this change. I don't mind a subscribe call out, but you might actually want to update to the more recent one. I've seen people get asked questions on where is this button only because it has changed more recently. So it's just something to kind of keep in mind as we are kind of, growing and evolving with this. So the first thing I call out is that the subscribe button has changed. Obviously, I understand you have a black and white banner, so this might make it a little challenging. But you have to remember, if a user is newer to YouTube or isn't as familiar, just keep in mind, you might want to match what they would see on YouTube itself. Now, the first thing I also look at is this about section, fishing, filming, and making custom lures, 3 of my favorite pastimes. It is getting cut out. I will just say that YouTube uses your about section to understand what your channel is about, and they use this to recommend it to other people. So I think what you have here is great. I'm curious if you use your channel name within the first little bit here. Fishing, filming, lures. I'm not seeing Yank Your Crank yet. I would recommend, if you can, welcome to Yank Your Crank, fishing, filming, and making custom lures. I think the 3 of my favorite pastimes, I would just say welcome to, just so that when people search, like if I type in, for example, I'll use Stanley Orchard. So as we're looking here, Stanley, you're letting me down. Where's your channel name and your about? I was using Stanley as a gold example.
It's in the about of the description of the channel.
Yeah.
Do I really not have it in there? Like,
well, look at that. We're exposed.
I know that's a best practice. Yeah, I guess not. I know it's in, like, I have it in the description of like all the videos.
Now, for those wondering why I'm not subscribed to Stanley on this channel, I'm subscribed to Stanley on the channel I actually use to watch content on. It is not the same as this channel. However, if we look at our friend Nick Nimmin, Nick has it right here. So Stanley, I have homework for you, apparently.
Hey, I would be the first one to admit I'm here to learn just like everybody else.
No worries.
I'll scream all day about creating content on a phone, but I'm still here to learn.
But with that there, it highlights it from Google as we saw from Nick Nimmin here. And this is not on accident. It's trying to match what people are looking for, in this case, Nick's name, to what's in their about section. Nick has helps you grow a YouTube channel by sharing. This is perfect. This is exactly what YouTube's doing, what they're kind of looking for. So I would add Yank Your Crank is about fishing, filming, and making custom lures. 3 of my favorite pastimes. I think that's a complete thought. I think if it's cut off, it's easy to understand, shows your channel, and shows up in that way. Looking a little deeper, I like how you have the For You section. I like that you're using that. One thing I'd keep in mind is that some of these videos it's recommending are 5 years ago. And if I'm new to your channel, there's a way you can limit YouTube to only show a year content or sooner. The reason I recommend that is because you don't want people to think, oh, this channel's not that active anymore, which can happen. So you want to make sure you're giving yourself the ability when it comes to content to have that more recent content there. $20 donation came in through Stanley. Stanley, you are amazing. Thank you so much. But that's one of those things that immediately stands out. Yes.
My apologies for interrupting you there. So Homekeeping Channel saying that she has the exact same problem with the logging in thing. I believe that the issue with this, and this is a headache one, but I was logged into a different account and I had to log into my primary Google account in order to access the Google Funds thing. So that was my resolution.
Fair enough. There we go. No, that's a really good reason. If you're struggling to donate and you want to, just make sure the account is 100%. Yank Your Crank says that makes sense. All right. Next thing I'm seeing,
you talking about that For You shelf?
Yes.
I don't like that thing. I'm not a fan.
All right. I'm going to go full screen. The For You shelf is not bad. The For You shelf on YouTube isn't a bad thing. The problem with it is that if you don't set it up properly, it can cause a little bit of confusion or show content that's not relevant. When it comes to the For You shelf, make sure that you have content within the last year selected so that it only shows more recent content. If you're not creating or not wanting your shorts to be shown there, make sure you say only show normal videos. Those are 2 quick things that can make the For You shelf on YouTube a lot more usable. I go full screen on that because I've heard similar. I've seen YouTube say it works for a lot of channels. I use it. I've seen it show up as a traffic source from the channel page. However, I always greatly appreciate the more use of custom playlists we curate and create for users. And I think you probably agree, right, Stanley?
Yeah. So you covered absolutely all the bases that I would have complained about with that. I don't like the For You because just as it generally is, as they regularly have it on there, I don't like the way that it does the content. You have to actually go in and you make some adjustments to it, and I'm totally fine with it.
No, and I think that is fair, especially considering that the adjustments aren't the easiest to find.
Yeah, they're not. It's a little bit buried.
But what do you think about the banner and some of the stuff we've seen here before we get too much deeper, Stanley?
And so I like this artwork, and I haven't. If you have this, then let me know. But I want to see this on a shirt. Like that logo, like if you're selling it like this, that I think that needs to be a T-shirt. I will say though that like one thing on that, my 2 cents is like you got your logo here, that the logo icon. So the name is kind of cut off on that. The imagery is really dark and hard to see. And I'll tell you right now, one of the things that I try to like check it out in the chat right now. So look at how my logo pops against yours in the chat. This isn't the most important thing in the world, but this is a recognizable piece of branding for you and your channel. And it's like that icon should be something that could be on the, on the chest of a shirt. It should be like a logo or icon, something like that. And I don't feel like that's the thing you would want representing you and what you do. It's not bright. It doesn't stand out. It's hard to read. I would think it'd be worth, spending a couple of minutes just dressing that thing up to make it something that could be, trademarked.
No, for sure. I think that when it comes to like thinking of not only your banner and your logo, that's a great point. Making sure it's showing up on all devices. And similarly, I noticed the artwork here is kind of cut off as well. It might be showing up fine on like a TV, but no, that's a really great point, especially when you're considering like you are active in the chat right now, Yank Your Crank. You're shank. You're crank. So
Yank your
I think
shank.
I don't know why we're shanking people. I'm just that was a Freudian slip, all right. But as we continue on, I just want to make sure I wouldn't get rid of the for you. I would just say use some of the options if you're gonna have it to make it a little bit better. I do prefer custom playlists. And I see you are using YouTube's videos playlist. Stanley, I'm sure you've heard me say this advice to people, but I would actually create your own playlist, call it your channel name, in your case, Yank Your Crank, not your shank, and make sure that it is like Yank Your Crank recent uploads or recent videos. Or it could even be, you could do this on a, if you're, if you like fishing, filming, and lures, you could make one Yank Your Crank recent fishing videos, custom lure videos, make it really specific so that if people are looking up your name and looking for that content, you've made it customly curated for them. Anything on the playlist we're seeing here?
I personally, I am huge on that. So you're given 12 shelves on your homepage for YouTube, and you like Yank Your Crank, you have a ton of videos. So you have a vast library. If you look like right here, so just right here, you've got the fishing videos shelf and you've got this video shelf. You've got this video is the same on both of them. Like that one is the exact same video. And maybe that's something you want to promote. That's cool. But the homepage is an opportunity for you to put as many videos as possible, like that entire library, get it out there in front of that one specific viewer who is more, like if they're coming to your homepage, they are interested. They are curious. You have a captive audience and somebody who's really into you and what you're doing. And this is an opportunity to get it all out there in front of them. You got 12 shelves. To me, that's 12 playlists, each one a little bit different, each one representative of the different things that you encompass and that you are doing content about. Utilize that space, take advantage of what you're given.
I could not agree more, especially because people often say channel pages, not that many people get there. I have on my own channel page 100,000 impressions. That means 100,000 people have gotten to my channel page. And that's in the last month.
So that is stellar, but that's not just 100,000, like, that's an additional 100,000 views. No. It's more important than that. That 100,000 people who saw that homepage, those are people who are invested. They took time. They saw something that you did, and they're like, man, I need to see what this dude's about. I need to see more, what am I getting myself into? This is a potential super fan that you're getting when they come to the homepage. So you really want to cater. It might not be as many people who come to your homepage, but the ones who do are very valuable viewers.
Well, even if you get 10,000 people to come to your homepage, if 10% click a video, that's like 100 views. That is a huge opportunity for viewership. If your video got 100 people to click on it, that's a huge opportunity. And that's why we talk so passionately about making it clear what's the benefit, not only for yourself as the channel, but you watching the viewer. So I love that advice, Stanley. I think it's very good. As I look here at your playlist, well, thank you. I noticed you're not using playlist descriptions. I would definitely write a description that explains what kind of fishing are you doing? Where are you fishing? If you feel comfortable disclosing that, I understand if you don't. But what kind of fish, where you're fishing, who you are. Welcome to Yank Your Crank fishing videos. We do the best, and I don't know, I haven't watched the videos. We do the best lake fishing you're going to see this side of the Mississippi as an example, as like what you could describe. All of a sudden, it's a lot clearer for a user what they can expect when it comes to this playlist. And the good thing about a playlist like that is it shows up in the channel here. It'll have a description. So that's a huge opportunity. I do see Yank Your Crank says, I'm going to be changing all of these tonight for sure. Please do. And you can watch the replay. Replay will be live after this. There's going to be a lot of value. I do like that you have popular videos, but similar to uploads, I would definitely recommend maybe curating this. I'd say Yank Your Crank popular videos, and then you can make sure that you have them. The good thing is if you make your own, if it's a popular video of your channel now, you can put it higher and it can help. But I really agree with Stanley here. You have so much content, and a lot of it is not, unfortunately, being able to be seen. And we want to make sure it is doing that. And I see you're doing shorts, and I saw you have the shorts there too. Please remember to put shorts in their own custom playlist and then in other playlists too. It can be a huge opportunity. So that's kind of what I'm seeing here. Anything to note before we go a little deeper, Stanley?
Um, Chris and I have been speaking. We talk about YouTube a lot. So a lot of those conversations are ones that we've already had. I'm not going to rehash a bunch of that stuff, but I will say that Yank Your Crank, the stuff that you are doing, like it's showing. There has been some improvements on some other stuff that he's been working on, and keep doing what you're doing, man. You're making really good strides on your stuff.
I have to agree. Like what I'm seeing here is good. I just want to make sure you're getting the most visibility possible, which is why we are so in depth in these reviews. We want to make sure that people, if they come to your channel, they can find it. If you are watching right now, I want you to go into your YouTube analytics, whether you're on your phone or your desktop, go to overall analytics and see how many views or how many impressions your channel pages get. That is opportunity for you to get viewership to your channel. So that's why I'm really passionate about this. From Toy Fan asking how we're doing today. Doing great. We are raising money for charity. We have crossed the $300 threshold. So Stanley, thank you so much for joining me on this. Stanley donated 20. Yeah. I donated 5. Yank Your Crank donated $5. I see that Homekeeping Channel, aka Susan, donated 5. So we are doing really well. We had a great conversation about, content creation on your phone. Now we're giving back to charity. I'm having a great day, and I hope Stanley is. I can't speak for him, but I know I
was just going to say the same thing. I feel accomplished today, and I appreciate that.
Of course. I think we've made some good stuff, and we're going to keep making good stuff. The next thing I want to check is community tab, and I can't stress this enough. On mobile devices, you can schedule stuff for your community tab. So if you're like, I don't know what to post, take a day, take 30 minutes, sit down, schedule them, give them 3 days apart. YouTube recommends posting on the community tab once every 3 days. So that doesn't mean you have to post every single day, but if you can come up with ideas like that, and you can easily fill this up. Now, I will say, to Yank Your Crank, it's been 3 days. I want to see a community tab post as you are fixing this tonight as well. It's been 3 days. I'm holding you to it. But shout outs to this live stream. I see this. I recognize this artwork. Stanley. Yep. 11 days ago. So I'm seeing you're getting more active here. I appreciate it. After that was 6 months. So this is your reminder to do it. But I'm very proud of the activity I'm seeing. Any advice here for Yank Your Crank on the community tab, Stanley?
Keep doing. Like I use the community tab for, it's kind of like an opportunity to give behind the scenes looks at some of the stuff that's going on just for the community. People who are a little bit more invested in the channel want to see the stuff that surrounds fishing, not just the specific fishing stuff that we do. Or on the YouTube channel, the exact same thing. You'd see some behind the scenes stuff. Definitely take advantage of it. Like, I don't think that I take advantage of it as much as I should either. I need to be doing like once every 3 days. I probably do once a week, and I need to double down on that cadence. The posts in the community tab, kind of work on doing really good ones. Spend some time making good posts and crafting the posts that you're going to make. Those are indexed on YouTube for discovery. That is something people can find your channel based on. Like, if you have a post that you put out and that post performs really well, YouTube is going to share that out to new audiences, and you can be found that way.
I 100% agree with this. Actually, one thing I wanted to flag is I noticed you're posting a lot of videos, which is not a bad thing. I would give some variety to it. And what I mean by that, and I'll use my own channel as kind of the example, is that there is a lot of variety you can have within the tab here. And so I'm using it for members, so I'm going to quickly scroll so that can stay to the members. Shout outs to the members. Susan, thank you so much for donating, not only here but in the past stream. But I will add polls, right? And like, I asked my audience recently, this actually informed a video. What would you like to know more about? How to make money with affiliate programs. That's my next video. I'm working on it now. I do shout out other videos, but I go a little personal. You can see some stuff I've written
behind the scenes stuff. Yeah.
But to Stanley's point, quizzes are a huge underrated thing. If you can make a quiz, and it could be like specific to your audience, I made this one. How can you effectively use your playlist to grow your channel? Like, this is different options. It has an explanation for the correct one, but look at how many people it reached. 1.2 thousand people have answered this. YouTube shared this out broadly. I actually had someone who said, I found your live stream through a quiz of all things. And I went, you know what? We'll take a quiz. So it is so important that you consider using that. All that to say, Yank Your Crank, keep on going when it comes to using that community tab. We want to see it. And so does your audience.
It's a resource.
Stanley, anything else to add?
Community tab. It's a resource. It is. It is just another opportunity for you on a lot of levels to touch the people who are into the content that you're making and to get discovered in front of the new guys. So take advantage of the opportunities that are available to you.
Sure. I actually want to go full screen here for a moment, Stanley, because we have a comment here from James Nelson. And James, you says, I really appreciate the advice both of y'all are giving now. I have to get the nerve to start my channel, but I have a stuttering issue. So I do not personally have a stuttering issue, but a lot of this is actually a rare opportunity to talk about something I don't talk about that much. So most people, I don't talk about it that much, but growing up, I had speech pathology. I had to go. I had a very bad lisp, which made it hard for me to actually communicate effectively. And so I had to spend quite a lot of time in that kind of therapy so that I could better communicate. Most people don't know this, and I worked twice as hard to do it. Sound? Oh, I don't know if the sound issue. Sound? Stanley, can you hear me?
Good on my end, FYI, and I'm
okay,
super into everything you're saying here too.
All right. I think it might just be unfortunately English one, so it might just be you. I'll restart for the point. When I was young, I had a very debilitating lisp. And unfortunately, what that meant for me is I had to work twice as hard to sound normal. You have a stutter, and it is something I believe that whether you think it'll hold you back, it won't. Not as much as you think it will. Our president right now, Joe Biden, had a stutter, which he worked hard to get over and through. It is one of those things that most people do not know I had a lisp. I worked incredibly hard. There are things that if people study my face, they're like, why do you make weird face shapes? That is that training I had to go through so that I can communicate. I've never told Stanley this. I don't even know if he knew this, but that's something where I had to work twice as hard. But in the end, I feel more confident than I ever had. I am proud of who I am. And it was something that was hard. So if you, James, are, you are worried about that stutter, I am begging you. I want you to create content. It is one of those things you will work through. You may get some comments. I still do. But at the end of the day, I rather you share your voice, and I want to hear what you have to say. I please beg you to do it. So that was just a moment I wanted to share. I don't really ever talk about that. Like I said, I don't even think Stanley knew that, but it goes to show sometimes the stuff we do in the shadows, most people will never know. But yeah. That's one of those things I just wanted to share because I want you to be creating, James, and I hope you do. Now, to get to this, what should we give grade-wise, Stanley? What are we thinking?
I have seen some of the stuff happening behind the scenes with this channel, and sure. I've seen I see the direction that it's going. I see the work the improvements that have been made. I am going to be openly, I'm going to be open about the fact that I am biased here. I'm giving. Seeing that stuff behind the scenes and not everybody here is privy to, I'm going to give an A- on this, largely based on the sweat equity that he's been putting into his work.
So I was thinking a B. So if we round, an A- and a B, we get a B+. And I think that is a fair in between because I only know what is present. And I think a lot of these are such easy fixes that we can easily get this better. So I think we come together on a B+. That work for you, Stanley?
I'm okay. I'm acceptable. I'm accepting of that.
So B+, really good and easy to fix a lot of what we've talked about. And they're minor things, but those small things, those fundamental things that Stanley and I have talked to you about just now, they add up and make something so much larger. We have a comment.
All of this, like everything on YouTube is just... It's just tiny little things. All the little best practices all just the little improvements and the micro things that you can do at every little aspect. All of that tied together makes huge differences.
Yes, and I see we have from Yank Your Crank. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This is awesome. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for donating for an amazing cause, for being here throughout the stream. Any friend of Stanley's a friend of mine, so I would love to see you back. Always here, always happy to help. So thank you. We have a comment that's so true. James Earl Jones had a bad stutter, and look at what he became. James, you will have the community support. Go for it.
Yep.
Rest in peace to the late, great James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader, the voice of Mufasa in The Lion King. He recently has passed on, but that is so true. It can be done. I want you to know, James Nelson, I believe in you, and I wish you all the best. As someone who still struggles a little bit with his lisp, you can get to a point where you will be proud of what you've done. I rather you be proud of doing it now than look back 10 years and go, I should have done it.
Yeah.
Susan is next. And then we will give, while we're waiting to give Susan's, I just want to remember Stanley has graciously donated to the chat the ability for these reviews. So if you would like a free opportunity to get your channel looked at, all you have to do is type in hashtag Stanley into the chat. Stanley, thank you so much for your donation. It goes to an amazing cause.
That's for the channel, not the brand. Until they sponsor, as soon as they sponsor me, we're good. It just hasn't happened though.
Hey, maybe one day.
Match made in heaven.
It really would be. From James Nelson, I will set a new channel up tonight. It will be about everyday carry gear on a budget. I love that. More stuff like that, please. It is so important. Please
James,
share.
you're in the Discord server?
If you are, that's a great point.
I want to keep up to date with this. I want to see how this goes.
So we have a link to the Discord in the description. I'll make sure to put it in the chat here. Good call out there, Stanley. So as we give more people the opportunity, you have the chance to type in Stanley. Please go ahead, feel free. Stanley's graciously donated. But as we are doing that, Homekeeping Channel, you mentioned you have a little bias with with Yank Your Crank. I'm biased here. I will say Susan, aka Homekeeping Channel, is one of my students. She has been working incredibly hard. She takes feedback amazingly. This thumbnail we worked on together, easy to use. Love how this has come out, especially 6 kitchen tools and gadgets that will make your life easier. Great to see. Homekeeping Channel, cleaning one space at a time. Stanley, what are your thoughts on the banner?
Dude, the thing that stood out from the moment we started streaming, so I talked a minute ago about the icons, and I have the icon in the chat, and I made mine red because I want it to be bright and stand out. Did that on purpose. And for the other channel, the exact same thing. I did the bright blue. I wanted that to stand out with my face and, blah, 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 all the things. Yours stood out to me immediately. You've got a very simple, very easy to see palette. But it stands out. It pops. You can see that against all of these other ones so well in the chat. I love that, but I also love that it ties into like the branding that you have across the channel, like the banner, how that ties together. I'm a fan. I like this. It looks clean. I get the feeling of like coming over to this channel. I'm like, if I'm going to be looking into some home cleaning stuff, I want the artwork to be reflexive of that, and it is.
I fully agree. I would say my only bit of advice would be say, welcome to Homekeeping Channel. You only need to clean one space at a time. I think just having that in is a little easy. It's a welcome to the channel. I think what you have now is fine too. Maybe you just put here at Homekeeping Channel after, because I actually think this is such a powerful, really well done about. I would actually just say you could put it here. Don't add the space because then it like you could see here, it cuts it off, but it allows you to use that very well. And I like how you have, if you're going to drive people off site, you have them with your link here going to multiple different locations that you have right now. It's your YouTube channel. So really well done. And I see you're using Tube Spanner. Shout outs to Tube Spanner, friend of the channel.
You have excellent taste.
Looking here, I do know that I'm subscribed. I'm not seeing a returning channel trailer. So what I would tell you, Homekeeping Channel, is definitely set a channel trailer for those who have watched you before. I recommend updating this about once a month with a video or your recent video or something you're proud of so that people can see what you've been up to since they last checked. This is what we were telling Yank Your Crank about, but What are your thoughts on these playlists? Look at that description there.
Oh, just for the record, I am blind. Like I should be wearing glasses right now, so I have a hard time reading that on the screen. But yeah, just that, like I like what I can physically read. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you,
and
Tube
thank
Spanner.
you, Tube Spanner, for the tool. Yeah, for making that a possibility. So yeah, I am a firm believer. I didn't jump into it too much with Yank Your Crank, but I am a firm believer in not only having that description on these playlists because it gives people the opportunity to understand what they are getting into with this. It's YouTube uses that for discovery purposes. It might not be the most, the number one thing that they go to surface a playlist in front of people, but they do serve playlists to viewers, and this is one of the things that they use in order to figure out who it needs to be served to. So it just looks more professional when you have it on there, but also search and discovery systems use this. It's another opportunity. It's another tool you can use to get in front of people.
I love it's called Cleaning Made Simple, Everyday Practical Tips and Solution. You're immediately giving value to those who are looking. It says, discover easy cleaning solutions for every room in your home for your everyday cleaning task with my how-to cleaning solution and tips. Perfect, to the point. YouTube can immediately go, oh, this is great for people who've been looking and watching a lot of, cleaning content. I love it. Then you not only help me here, bathroom cleaning, kitchen organization, quick and simple laundry tips. Like immediately you said, cleaning one space at a time. You have committed to that with your playlist structure. That is such a great look.
Okay, I got a question here. What is that?
Sure.
96 videos? Is that right?
Yes.
How many shorts videos?
88 videos. We have quite a good bit of shorts. I'd say it looks like, I think it's
good
6.
number.
I think we have 14, but don't quote me.
Okay, so I like seeing that. I like 96 videos, 14 shorts videos. I think that is pretty much the perfect ratio of shorts videos to regular videos. 96 videos is you are hoofing it. You are putting in solid work. 2,000 subscribers. How many views on the channel, if you don't mind? I'm curious.
Let's go to the about. The about section says we got about almost 1 million. We're at 833,000 views.
Okay. You are killing it.
Yes.
You keep doing what you're doing. My question on this right now, like I'll be straight up honest with you. You're nearing 100 videos. You're nearing 1 million views. Why are you not at 10,000 subscribers? Like I'm going to turn this around and put it on you. Why are you not? And not that I'm not a big proponent of you measure a channel by subscribers. I do not. That is not that is a highly vanity metric in my opinion, but it is one of the ones that, sponsors and people tend to look at. And I would be curious, why aren't you there? And it's on you. It's on you. Because you've got the views and you've got the impressions to be on that level. So now it's like, okay, double down, do the, tie into the things that are creating value for people to come back more, to have to come back, where you don't even have to tell them to subscribe. They have to do it because of the amount of value that you're providing. They can't get without, they can't live without that.
Great advice and things that again, Homekeeping Channel's in the group coaching membership, so I know a little bit of insight similar to you and Yank Your Crank, but what I will say is that one thing we are working on is just continuing making it easy for people, and I love the perspective of 1 million people almost have seen your content. That is insane. That is 50,000 people fills the Roman Colosseum. At 1 million, you can fill it 20 times. Imagine 20 Roman Colosseums worth of people in front. That's an insane number to think about. But it goes to show, right? Because when, to Stanley's question, why aren't people subscribing? Homekeeping Channel says this. I believe because people get the answer they want, and then they just go, they don't really return, I believe. And that can happen.
The most important thing about that is that you have identified a thing, and so it's actionable. Maybe you need to do some stuff to fix that, or maybe you at the very least don't need to take it to heart, and you keep making the content you're making, because even though it might not be pulling on subscribers, you're definitely getting in front of people. You're definitely providing value with those numbers that I'm seeing. That 100
Agreed.
videos, 100 videos and 1 million views. That's crazy.
I also will say that there are ways that even if you have resources like 6 kitchen tools and gadgets that will make your life easier, here's more. If you want to continue making your homekeeping life easier, subscribe today. Watch this other video about how to make your bathroom or another part of your home, right? Like you already have cleaning one space at a time. Really, it's about linking the different ways people can clean. Because when people get the cleaning bug, they usually want to do it and they want to watch someone while they're doing it or they want to listen to something. You're an amazing solution for that. Yank Your Crank asks a good question. How do we feel about part 1 and part 2 videos? I like them if they are done well. And what I mean by that is sometimes people will make part 1 have all the information you need, and unfortunately, there's not a lot of reason to check out part 2. It's about figuring out where to split and if a video should have multiple parts. I am a fan. It just has to be done correctly. Stanley, what do you think?
1,000% agree. I am a fan because I think that there's a lot of value in bringing a viewer on through 2 videos. You know, it's hard enough for everybody on YouTube to get somebody to watch 1 video, but this right here is already a tied-in reason for people to watch a second video. The trick on that is going to be how that both of those videos have to stand on their own merits, which is fine for video 1, but the hardest thing that people have with doing a part 1, part 2 video series is what is the value for part 2 and how does it stand on its own feet? How can it be its own thing without video 1, but also be a continuation of that first video? A perfect example is going to be like, Empire Strikes Back. That movie, you can watch that movie on its own. You can enjoy it, and it is great. Terminator 2 Judgment Day. You do not need to see the first Terminator movie to understand that that is one of the all-time greatest movies. It stands on its own merit. But if you watch the first one, you are definitely drawn in to want to watch the second one, and you need to have that approach if you're going to do a part 1 and a part 2.
I fully agree. This is something I did with my channel, which was I made a video that I knew would get a lot of interest, and it is, do paid tools still matter? And then I followed it up with an SEO tutorial, and those two feed very well into 1 and 2. So it's one of those situations where if you can do a part 1 and 2, to Stanley's point, I love that analogy. If the video can stand on its own but feed back to the other one, or the first video feeds to the second, that's a great way to do it. If they can't, maybe combine those 2 parts into 1 video or find a way to do that. And I see comedian Miss Anita has joined us. Thank you for joining. If you're interested in, I just want to remind the chat that we are doing, Stanley has graciously donated some channel reviews. If you'd like an opportunity, just type in #Stanley to the chat. Going back to Homekeeping Channel, I love the layout. I think that you do such a good job. I know that one thing we've talked about is taking a look at some of your most popular videos. One of the pieces of advice I give is if you have a popular short, you should go back and make a normal YouTube video. It works the same in reverse. If you have a video that's doing really well, getting a lot of views, make a YouTube short out of it. If you don't have the footage, there's tools like YouTube's remix feature, which is free. YouTube's remix feature also directs people back to that video. There are also tools like Opus Clip, which I am a brand ambassador for, proud sponsor of the channel. Great solution. If you don't have the video, maybe you just make a brand new YouTube short. But it's a great way because with YouTube's linking feature, you can make some of your most popular videos into shorts and some of your shorts into full-term videos. Any thoughts on that, Stanley?
Well, first off, I am not a brand ambassador for Opus Clips. And as somebody who is not a brand ambassador, I'm still going to say I really appreciate the stuff that they put out. I don't use them because I'm, again, stodgy and old and stuck in my ways. They are heavily on my radar. And I kick myself for not using them every time I make a shorts video.
Well, we can definitely get you there. But I just wanted to say that, Stanley and I both agree on it. I think this is like some of your videos. Looking here, they're 1:25. They kind of already lean pretty well into shorts. So give it a shot.
I got a question about that. A thought on this. So people make shorts videos, which are 60 seconds and under. And then people also create long form videos, but they tend to make them 8 minutes, or now everybody's trying to push into like the 20 and 30-minute range. It's a trend that's happening on the platform, generally speaking. And that leaves, to, in my opinion, like my thought, I surmise that there is an underserved audience in that 1 minute to 8 minute range, specifically in the 2 to 3 minute range. Do you have any like thoughts or insight on that? Because I'm very curious about the value of 2 to 3 minute videos.
So I actually do have a thought, and I will show that question. I think after we're done with this review, I'll show you my exact thoughts.
Okay.
But that is a
Cool,
good
cool.
one. And there's a way that if you're watching, you can actually know for yourself too. So that's a continuation to keep watching. So as we
Micro engage
continue
or
on,
micro hook.
yes, yes, it is very good, Stanley. Uh, as I look here, you know, I know you are working on your community tab. I want to see more activity here. You were active a little bit ago, and you're getting decent, like 3 likes. You're reaching people. Again, I love this picture poll. I think this is really helpful. As you can see, I voted bathroom because maybe I just need some help in my bathroom cleaning. I'm biased. Okay, what can I say? But I'm using it, and I don't even know if I told you this, Susan, but I'm one of the people who actually was voting on these. So it goes to show, use your community tab. You never know who's looking at it and who's watching. Any feedback you'd give for how Homekeeping Channel could use the community tab?
The behind the scenes stuff, of course, like maybe before and after. I'm not the biggest fan of when people post links to their videos in the community tab. I think it's missed opportunity. It's not the approach. Like the video's already out there. It's already being shown. You don't need to like make a post about that. But if you were, that's just like my 2 cents on that. At least if for people who are like spamming it in their own thing. But what about like having a before after photograph that teases a future video or something that you're working on? I love doing stuff like that.
No, I think that's a great way to do. Tease upcoming. I also think if you've noticed, and I've done this, if you're starting to get a lot of questions about something and you have a video maybe a year or 2 old, that's when you can reintroduce it. Because sometimes, like from that year or 2 ago, the old can become new. A lot of times I see people make the mistake that this is my latest video, I'm making that a community post. Excuse me, I just needed to sneeze there. Thank you. And God bless us all. But now I just feel like Tiny Tim. God bless us, everyone. But jokes aside, I will say that I think that's a common mistake is people just post their recent video. And going back to the parts question, if you just put out part 2, don't maybe a day or 2 before, again, give yourself 3 days, say, hey, I'm finally making a part 2 on this popular video. Check out part 1 so you don't miss it when part 2 drops. You're using, you know, you're planting seeds for people using this tab, and it helps people know what's coming. So I agree with what Stanley said. Just using videos is commonly overdone and really not a great use, but sprinkling it through with polls, with pictures, that is such a great way to use this section.
Homekeeping Channel says, I follow my mentors where they say make the video as long as it needs to be. Would like to do longer videos, but they always finish within 2 to 3 minutes by the time you finish editing. So super valuable. I am of the same mindset. A video, I never film a video with any kind of preconceived notion as to how long that video is going to be. I will film as much as I can, and I do want to try to get into that 19 to 23 minute runtime. That's like just what people are accustomed to watching videos, you know, from old television days. A 30-minute television episode has a 19 to 23 minute runtime, and then 7 to 11 minutes worth of commercials. So I try to aim for that same kind of runtime. But most recently, this video that I'm working on that I've spoken about several times on the vlog channel that I do, that thing is going to top off at 11 minutes. And I'm not hurting my feelings. Like, I'm not going to beat myself up about the fact that I was only able to get 11 minutes out of that video. I am not going to, you know, I had like 6 hours worth of footage for that video. And it just like, I could not even make that 6 hours of footage last for 20 minutes. It just was too much fluff. So I think that is a very, very important thing that not enough people that not enough people have the confidence to delete that much footage out of a video. If you spend a day filming 6 hours with footage, you're like, man, I've got to get at least an hour video out of this. No, you don't. Make it as good as it is, make it as long as it is, and then you're going to have to cut your stuff. Highly believe in that.
I also will say, and for you, Susan, if we bring your channel back up here, I think you actually are uniquely, a lot of these videos you could probably make like a longer compilation of. Maybe if you have like a lot of bathroom, you're like, in this bathroom compilation, you can do like a new voiceover. Like, hey, I put together some of my most popular bathroom videos so you can watch and clean along with me. Please enjoy this longer compilation. And yeah, it's videos you already have. But if they're finding it through that compilation, it's a great way for them to see multiple videos of yours. And if they just want to go back and watch the solo video, you have that as a resource. So I think that's a great way, especially for this. Don't shy away from compilations.
That is huge next level advice.
Well, I try to bring the heat, Stanley.
Yeah.
Questions though, Stanley. What would you give this as a grade? I am too biased, and I give Homekeeping Channel, aka Susan, I give her advice in our membership. So I'm curious, as fresh eyes, what do you think?
I'm going a solid A on this one.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that pretty much lines
very
with me.
Clean, very professional looking.
You heard it here, Homekeeping Channel. I told you have a good channel, and now you've heard it from another expert. So two of us can't be wrong. Yeah, I would say you're an expert, Stanley. I'm biased though, because I
get it. I feel like I just got an A.
Stanley, you get an A for Stanley, the A in his name. But if you would like a free channel review, Stanley has graciously donated to our charity. If you want to jump the queue, you can do that by donating to the charity down below using the donate button here. Stanley, we've gotten a couple more people who just joined us. We are giving back to those who are battling cancer, whether they're battling it personally or they are their families, they are friends of it. Stanley has graciously donated. Yank Your Crank, Susan, I've even donated, so we have more for free. If you can't donate, that is fine. We understand. Please just come around, chat. If you can, if you can't donate, please consider sharing this out. We'd really appreciate it. And Stanley, thank you for joining me here.
My pleasure. It is an honor, and I am very blessed to be able to get to do a stream like this with you. I'm having a blast.
So am I. So one thing I will say is we talked about, as we're waiting for people to, check out Stanley's channel, I want to make sure that I take a moment to look at the chat, and we have a thing from Yank Your Crank that says Jake Paul's editor had a video talking about that YouTube was behind the push for long videos, but that people have only ever wanted 3.5-minute videos, so they went to that format as only a highlight reel of the video. It is a shame they don't accept PayPal for the YouTube giving, but it makes sense because it's Google, and I guess they want to promote Google Pay. But I do understand that. That is feedback I've given them. I think giving from YouTube, if you're unaware, it's a great idea. It does need some more ironing out, but I promised Stanley, and I'm going to hold to my promise, and you were asking me about video length, and there's actually new analytics. If you are watching, I have a dedicated video on this, but I'll show us live. And there's new analytics so you can check out videos and see not only how your videos of certain lengths do, but compare them to other videos. So I am going to quickly jump to actually one of my shorter videos because I think this is a really good data point. So we have this here. As you can see in the show more section, this video is 2 minutes and 30 seconds, right? If you look at my retention graph, people found where they found the value, and then I didn't do a great job keeping their interest. But here's what I'll tell you. With our new data here, we have compared to other videos, which if you have not gone to analytics like this on a desktop, I do hate that it's not on mobile. I know it's a huge point, but do go into the desktop view on your mobile device. You can see a lot of this. Audience retention. So compared to other videos shows how this video of mine did compare to other videos, which shows how your audience does. I didn't hit below average until the end, which I think is pretty good for me. If I see how many people watch all the way to the end of my 60,000 plus, I see that only about 2,888. I thought I made this video perfect length and not a second more, but my audience pretty much decided after I showed them how to do the guidelines that they were done. I probably should have ended this video here. So to your question, Stanley, how long should a video be? Sometimes what you think, you can look at your data. For this tutorial, I made it a little too long, and I see that with how many people made it to the end. I'm very happy with, of 66,000, a majority saw the meat of it. The problem I had was I actually had, and this is something I wouldn't do today, a natural stopping point pretty much here, and people told me with their view they left. So that's why I say look at your analytics. If it's similar to this type of video where you just show off a feature and you're just given that, that's fine. But guess what? I have other videos that are similar to this, right? Like this video I have here, let me pull this up. This video about, you know, just how to simply, you know, find colors for beginners. You know, this video did a little differently, and I'm going to bring it back on screen now. So this video is about 3 minutes, and I learned from that last one. I get about at the halfway part, we have quite a lot that make it to the end. And in fact, until I show the end screen, we keep a third of the audience. I'm pretty happy with this. If we go to detailed activity, we see a similar story. If we go compared to other videos, what I actually learned is that this video is above average compared, and if you don't know what it's compared to videos of similar length. So to your question, Stanley, use your analytics, start posting. YouTube will tell you now with this new data point how your video is comparing. And even to when it only dips below average at my end screen. So this is a huge opportunity if you've made content and maybe haven't posted in a while to find your ideal length. Because for me, I find that I hit high right at the beginning here for like showing off what this can do. And this is such useful data. And if you want to learn how to get there, don't worry. I have a video that I will put in the chat. But Stanley, I hope that helps you answer that question.
Yeah, I knew about this, and as you know, somebody who lives primarily on the mobile app, I don't look into this one as much as I should. I probably look into that exact same thing that you're looking at there, maybe twice a year. But yeah, I'm aware of that being there, and you are absolutely right about that being a great measure of your video versus, you know, the others of the same length, and seeing like how you're performing. Give you some insight in what you need to be doing going forward.
100% agreed. And I see we have more people joining us. If you'd like a chance to get one of the donated channel reviews, all you have to do is type in hashtag Stanley in the chat. We have raised over $300 officially for charity,
Nice.
which is incredible. We are going to keep doing this until the end of the month. I know we can hit our goal. Very proud of our community coming together. I think we've given enough time for Stanley. I know I've donated some reviews, so if you didn't get picked here, you have a chance. All right. Okay, who are we looking at? All right, Sabine's best world. And while I'm pulling that up, Stanley, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on checking out channel pages on a mobile device? I know we talk a lot about looking at it from, you know, just on desktop. How often do you check out a YouTube channel on your phone?
Oh, I'm a nerd for YouTube stuff, so I do that on every single channel that I subscribe to. Like, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go take a look at your channel art, and I'm gonna go and see what the thumbnails looked like, you know, 6 years ago, whatever the case may be. I get a stupid amount of joy out of going and learning about a channel, the behind the scenes stuff, seeing, you know, how they've grown. I have a lot of fun with that.
I actually fully agree. I think it's so much fun to just look at like the history of a channel and see how it's doing. So no, 100% agreed. I am pulling up Sabine's channel now, but I also want to make sure that we are showing the new way that you can get a channel review if you're curious. If you missed out on the last one, I've also donated channel reviews to the chat. All you have to do is type in hashtag KDCC as I just posted it in chat. It is very easy to get this review. It is a great opportunity. I have donated as well. And if you would like to jump the queue, if you want to guarantee your spot, if you donate to the charity, it's a great cause. It gives you an opportunity so that you can easily get that channel review and help an amazing cause. We're raising money to the American Cancer Society, which helps those battling cancer and their families, you know, through the whole process. And, you know, Stanley has graciously donated. We've had a lot of people donate, and we're $300 to our $500 goal. So just happy to be here with Stanley. Happy to look at these channels. We've had some great channels too, might I add. Yeah. And, you know, oh, you were going to say something, Stanley?
Oh, I was just thinking how like the couple of channels that we've been looking at, they're all A's, high B's. I'm kind of like, man, I really not saying that this is anybody that is even in here or not, but man, I would really like to see a D, an F minus come through the door.
I
That'd be
mean,
fun.
I've had people know I give F minuses for some things, but it's usually in jest. I've only ever given, I don't think I've actually given an honest to God F minus. I've given joke F minuses, but never serious. But I will say, whether you're unsure if like, a lot of times people are wondering like, I don't know, I don't even know if I'm ready for a channel review. Here's the thing. It gives you an opportunity. I always take a look at a channel review from the perspective of someone who's never seen the channel. Stanley has seen, and I can say this with confidence, probably over 100,000 channels. I know you're working those TubeBuddy forums, those TubeBuddy discords. I've been there.
Yep.
I could say I've seen over 100,000 channels with certainty. If you've watched us for a long time, both of us have a lot of experience and we care, right? So that's why we do this. And you know, if you are wondering what can I do, the easiest thing you can do is just go ahead and join. We've donated to take a look at these channels. It's all with the hope of helping you grow.
Kickstart it today.
Amen. And I know that some people said they're having a hard time donating. Even if that's true, consider sharing this out, and you can still enter in these ones that have been donated to the chat. That's why they're there. So while we're going on that, we did see a few questions that I think I may have missed. So this question came a little bit earlier in the stream, and I just wanted to take a moment. Sorry, I missed it. So the question is when you're creating content on your phone, how do you balance, you know, audio when you're filming like face forward? Like, how do you help that sound better? Stanley, what are your advice if someone is trying to record on their phone and they're filming like this, where the phone is facing them, they're using front camera?
Well, so that's exactly how I do it, except that I'm using the back camera. I'm still holding it and filming, so my audio is still going to be coming from that direction like that. To my knowledge, like the microphone, it's just the one microphone or whatever, maybe two microphones that they have on the phone, and it's not bi-directional or anything. If it is, it's going to be barely bi-directional. So like long story short on that is just the main issue isn't going to be so much what direction you're facing or anything. It's going to be more like the main issues are going to be more of the distance that the phone is. I've got long arms, so if I'm holding that phone, you know, way out there, the audio is not going to be as good as if I did the wide angle lens and put the phone closer to me so that I'm closer to the mic and I get better audio that way. It absolutely, despite the quality of the mic that is available on all of these devices that we all have, it is probably a very worthwhile investment to look into a lavalier mic. There are some great ones out there that really make this under, you know, the audio being something that people do not pay enough attention to in the work that they do. It's worth an investment into a mic that can help that out a little bit. It really is.
Agreed. And I think as we have the code on screen, I want to go ahead and check out Sabine's channel. If you want the opportunity to get a free channel review, I have it on screen here. This is donated by myself, actually, and shouts out our amazing community. We've had a lot of community folks come through. Really happy. There's 24 of you watching us live. I cannot express how happy I am. I mean, if Stanley and I were in front of a room of 24 people, that is a classroom. And you are all here to learn, all here for an amazing cause. So from the bottom of our hearts, thank you.
And think about that whenever you're looking, like when you're worrying about numbers. Like if you're looking at your channel and like you're like, oh man, I've only got 600,000 views, or I've only got 6,000 views. Put that number into context. You know,
Yes.
if you got 6,000 views on your channel, you don't need to be worried. You don't need to be stressing about that. You need to be giving yourself a pat on the back.
100%. I mean, we have 25 people watching. We gained a person in this explanation. It comes and it goes, and that's the beauty of what we get to do. Speaking of what we get to do, let's take a look at this channel. So Sabine's Best World, it's better than amazing. So immediately I will say that I'm assuming this is Sabine and her Best World. Turn notifications on, subscribe. This goes back to a little bit of advice we gave earlier, which is making sure that when YouTube updates, I just wanted to change the color of this. YouTube has updated where the subscribe button is now. So when you have a banner that has the old information, from a new user perspective, there's nothing here, so it can be confusing. All I think you would have to do is put that here, point down, does the same thing. With that said, though, hi everyone, it's me, Sabine. I love seeing this. Sabine's Best World. I think this is good. If people are looking for your full name, Sabine will still show up. This will help YouTube index it into search, which is super important for those who do search that way. Yep. So great to see there. Any comments on the banner and the about so far, Stanley?
Yeah, right off the bat, this is explosive. Like it's bright, it's colorful, it pops. Chef's kiss on this banner.
I agree. No, I was going to say that, especially for, you know, if it's the best world, I want it to be full of color and pop, you know?
Yep.
Next one I'm seeing here is I'm noticing there's no channel trailer. That would be something I'd recommend you implement right away. It does not have to be a dedicated YouTube channel trailer. It can just be a video that you think, you know, really, I often say if you're not sure what video to put as your channel trailer because you haven't made one, what video is the video you find yourself, if someone asked to see a video, you would share to them? That should be the channel trailer.
You know, my 2 cents on that, I love that. That is great advice. My 2 cents on the channel trailer, if you're not going to make something that's dedicated, what do you need? You need views? Then get the video with the most views and make that your channel trailer. Are you stressing about the number of subscribers that you're getting? Well, then put the video with the highest subscriber rate. Use that as your trailer.
Amen. I couldn't say it better myself. That's really good advice, Stanley, so thank you. I see we have the For You section again. Looking here, the For You it's recommending is within that 2 years, but do keep in mind, as we kind of mentioned a little bit earlier in the stream, is that sometimes we kind of recommend putting it into the, you know, 1 year kind of span. And I think you don't have shorts here, or maybe you, I mean, I see you have shorts, so maybe you have that option for no shorts to pop up, which is something I would recommend if you're not really trying to promote your shorts here, because I see next you have your short shelf right there. And I see from DePaul, that's really good advice. We will do that. See, we're here to help everyone.
Yeah.
But one thing I will say is that I would actually maybe put videos higher unless your main focus is the shorts. And there's nothing wrong with that if that is your main focus. But I say this because if you are right now looking at this, right, we have shorts. Like if you're focusing more on the normal videos, you have it as For You, shorts, and then normal videos. I would actually, and to Stanley's point earlier in the stream, you get 12 sections here. We're only using 3, meaning we're only using 1/3 of the opportunities to connect with someone. I would add more sections here. What do you think, Stanley?
Yeah, so we spoke about that on Yankee Crane's channel. You get 12 shelves. You get an opportunity to show off your entire library to those people who are super committed enough to the point where they're coming over your homepage. I say take advantage of all of it. And the next thing on that bit of advice for this is I am a firm believer in putting your best foot forward. So like that top number 1 shelf to me, you can have the For You one. I'm not a fan, but I'm not going to argue against it. You can have that shelf on there. But in my opinion, the next shelf, or you want to put your best foot forward, you put your popular videos up there first and foremost. You want people to see the best things that you have ever made. And then if you have a topic that you're filling a playlist full of videos, and it is a topic that is super, super popular for the videos that you make, that needs to be the next one. You know, like you work your way down towards the less performing stuff towards the end of the homepage.
And to that point, DePaul says this is my daughter's channel and we want to push long form. So that's great advice, especially with the popular videos, because right now you're accidentally showing people that make it here, focus on what YouTube recommends and shorts, which isn't bad, just not what you're trying to do. Now I want to check, you have dedicated playlists. One thing I would tell, and I think this is a great example of it, is Disneyland here is going to be very competitive. Playlist names need to be descriptive of the content that is going to be on it. And I can't stress this enough. Sabine's toy review unboxing is a little bit more descriptive, But what kind of toys? What genre of toys? What are you doing at Disneyland? Is it Disneyland or is it Disneyland? And please forgive me if I'm wrong here, but Disneyland with a preschooler or kindergartner, right? So a lot of like those have a little bit more interest than just the broad Disneyland per se. And that's what I would consider when it comes to the content, right? Challenges, what kind of challenges? Crafts, what kind of crafts? That's what I'm kind of missing on these playlist names. And as we talked about earlier, we want them to be descriptive. We want them to really, if I'm brand new here, I can see what they're about. I know how YouTube could recommend them. I'm not seeing that right now, but Stanley, I'd love your opinion on the playlist names.
I am a huge proponent of playlists. I think that they need to cross. And what I mean by that is like, so on my vlog channel, on my fishing channel, I've got seasonal content. So every year there's this new and exciting playlist of things that I can promote that is the newest, most amazing, most awesome thing that has ever been made in the history of forever. And every year it's that same new and exciting thing. So there's a time element to these playlists being new. It's always a new thing that I can promote. But at the same time, when I'm doing fishing, I fish at the beach, I fish on a boat, I go to the lake, I am in the bay. I have these different kinds of fishing, pier fishing or bridge fishing or whatever the case may be. And people who watch a video about me fishing offshore are not necessarily going to be as into fishing at the lake. Maybe they just want to see offshore fishing content. So while I'm posting these playlists of seasonal content, I'm also filling the buckets in these different other playlists, one about beach fishing, one about offshore, one about lake, so that I'm filling out that homepage. All of these videos get representation. All the best videos get represented on the homepage. And I'm also giving a consumable journey of viewing experience for people who just want to see offshore or just want to see the lake.
I think that is so smart. You're giving users what they want in a way that matters to them, and I think that's so important. I also think that, you know, DePaul says this, okay, I didn't know that playlist names made a difference. This is a common mistake I see made on YouTube content. Again, we're going full screen. If YouTube gives you a field to name it, you should name it. It is not on accident, it is on purpose. The most information you can give to YouTube about what your video is about. So that's the title, that's the description, that's the tags. For playlists, it's the same thing. The YouTube playlist title matters. It's how YouTube indexes it for search and discovery. So if someone is actively searching for something, that playlist can show up. If you do a great job entitling it, it could show up randomly as a suggestion because of the work and effort you put in. If YouTube gives you metadata fields like that, you should use it within reason. But yeah, no, it's super important. Sorry, I had to go full screen on that. Stanley's just pointing up.
Yeah.
Also, I love
I'm
those
buying everything that you're selling on that one, man.
It almost sounds like a Dr. Seuss book on a lake, in a boat, in a moat, with a coat, where it's just Stanley fishing in different locations and different clothing.
Yeah, but that's what my channel is.
It's just nursery rhymes. But
yeah,
I will say, love to see that you're using the community tab. I would have, these are both 2 hours ago. Keep in mind kind of what we recommended earlier in the stream. YouTube only really pushes out one. So by putting out two here, you might have caused one to harm the other. I would say, I think that one, amazing to see you at Vid Summit. So was Stanley. Stanley, did you meet?
Seeing you there, by the way.
So it seems like Stanley met you. But here's the thing I would say is you want to give this time to breathe. One every 3 days, YouTube's recommendation. That's what I would say. So I think that's pretty easy here. I do love that you're using multiple different ways. Congrats on 3,000 subs, by the way. It's good to see that you're using this in multiple different ways. You're definitely using it in a way that can help a community. Happy 7th birthday to Sabine. So really love to see it. I think this is a great use of this community tab. Just consider the spacing and timing between them. Overall, though, it looks good to me. What do you think, Stanley?
Yeah, that the approach that you're doing on the community tab, you got it. You know what you're doing. Keep them coming. Keep them posting. I don't even mind that they're back to back like that. Just FYI, the issue with that is that when you post the second one, like YouTube likes new content, so there's kind of like a little bit of a push for the newest thing to get a little bit of a bump in impressions. And so when you post something and then you post something else on top of that, they're not getting the exact equal amount of impressions. So you kind of want to give stuff an opportunity to air out a little bit, but not a
To
terrible
breathe.
deal. Like you're pushing content to the point where you're stepping on your own toes, and I'm not going to argue against that.
I would, only because YouTube's going to push the most recent, and it actually can cause a little self cannibalization. And in the
Yeah,
end,
yeah.
it can cause this to not be as seen as well. And also, kind of what we said, talking about giving it time to breathe. I think this was a great like teaser post for this. I would have just given it that 3 days,
Yep.
because
I
then you could say, "Oh, go ahead, Stanley."
That's exactly how I'd have done it too.
And to this question, comedian Miss Anita, I actually have a video planned about the community tab section, how to use it efficiently and effectively. So, again, one of those things just reminds me to make the content. To what Stanley said earlier in stream, if you see a question or a comment that you should respond to, Stanley, make one about how to do it on mobile. Because in hindsight, I realized I didn't focus super hard on mobile.
Yes, so you're gonna get a double down on that from Andrew, and I'll have it on my mobile YouTube channel
Yes, there we
this
go.
week.
See?
Make it happen.
But I think we're here for a grade now. I think we've got a lot we can go on. I asked Stanley to give a grade last time. I'll start here. I think I'm going to give a very solid. I think there's some missed opportunities here. I think there's some stuff we could do. I think we give this a very solid B, as my like, not a B minus, not a B plus, just a B is coming from me, because there's a lot more we can optimize here. All this stuff super easy to do, and if you come back, we can easily give a regrading. Stanley, what is in your heart for this?
Can I see? Can you scroll down? Can I see a couple of these playlists real quick? Not the shorts. I want to see like the actual videos content.
But now I'm having to search for it like I'm at a store like Build-A-Bear. Shout out. No, just kidding.
There is. So the thumbnails look good, and I have a really hard time judging on thumbnails. Like I don't trust what anybody has to say about thumbnails. They can look amazing and have a terrible CTR, and vice versa. So I'm really hesitant to say anything about thumbnails. But the work that you're putting into your thumbnails looks solid. So long as the CTR is representative of that, I like the work that you're doing. The titles, the topics, the way that you are approaching your content from that perspective. I feel like you kind of need to refine that a little bit. We all do. Like that's something that never changes. It's good. Like you know what you're doing. It's obvious that you go to VidSummit. It's obvious that you're learning from people. So I kind of feel like I'm putting you on a different grading scale here. Speaking about just general YouTube channels, like of the hundreds of thousands of channels that we've looked at over the years, I'm going to put this as like a solid A. As somebody who is going to VidSummit, somebody who is active and participating in streams like this and actively learning stuff, I see the stuff that you are learning at VidSummit and I see you implementing it. And I'm going to put you at like a B plus on this one, because you're on a different grading scale than the rest of the YouTube ecosphere out there.
I think
if that makes sense. Is this a lot of double speak? It might be.
No, I thought that made sense. Like if you put between a B and an A, I think it comes out to a B plus or even an A minus. So I think we can go B plus to A minus. I think that is more than a fair grade scale for between the two of us here. So
he asked, should I delete the poll post in order to push the video post?
I wouldn't recommend that, only because it's already a little too late. We're kind of a little late here. I would just say we learn from this and continue on moving forward. We don't make this mistake twice. I often say YouTube's a lot like baking, where it's like you can't really remove effectively, but you can add and move forward with that experience. So I would just say keep it for now, but if you want to make a post, use the YouTube's built-in schedule features so that you can use it effectively. Other than that, I think we have, we are doing the giveaway. We have 2 entries. This will be your last shot to enter unless someone else donates. But, we crossed the $300 threshold and it's been an amazing stream. We've definitely been having fun.
Awesome.
So
Big
I
pat on
will
the back
also
for everybody here pushing that and making that happen. That is
yes.
awesome. Look at this. Like, we can sit here on our phones and fight cancer. How
Yes, we
awesome of
can.
a world is it that we live in?
I I have to say we have amazing people in the audience and we've had amazing people join us throughout the stream. It has been
I
an
agree.
absolute pleasure to be live with you, Stanley, and we're doing this for a great cause. And I remember when I asked Stanley, "Is it okay if I make this a charity?" He was through the roof, ecstatic about it, and that's just the kind of people I try to surround myself with. So just wanted to say that. I see someone put in hashtag Stanley. The new hashtag is hashtag KDCC. The hashtags do change. Comedian Miss Anita said, Stanley, how to handle recording live videos in public places, even with music.
That's a tough one.
That it is.
That's that conversation goes two directions. You either get really good at defending yourself in court, or you get really good at fixing your audio, using Adobe Enhance or re-recording audio like later on. There's no like trick to it. You're just, if you hear basic. So police are actually, when they go to, like, now in this ecosystem or whatever that we're living in the YouTube world that we're living in today, if they go to arrest somebody and people have out their phones and they're recording this whole thing, they go to their cruiser, they turn on Katy Perry and they blare it, because Katy Perry is fantastic about claiming all of that content on YouTube. Not Katy Perry, she's not a bad person, but like her people, the music people who handle her stuff, her manager, they work very hard for her and they claim all of those videos. And that is a tactic that the police use. So if the police are using Katy Perry to defend themselves against, having videos of arrests and stuff posted online, you're not going to beat that. You know what I mean? If music starts playing in the background where you're at, you kind of just have to stop, start over, go find another spot to be at.
Sadly, that is one of the things I would say as well when it comes to that's using copyright ID claiming to take down videos. If you are at an event, one of the best things you can do is film a lot of B-roll yourself enjoying it and do a voiceover. And we talked about that a little bit earlier. Like, I've had that exact thing happen. There have been a lot of events I've gone to when I was working at TubeBuddy where we tried to film content, and it's cool that the vibe had music, but unfortunately, Usher in the background isn't going to let me go on YouTube. So it's finding ways that you can still record B-roll, which is just the environment, the mood, the moment, without having to, be in that position of, oh, I can't use this because of the music. And that is a battle I feel most creators have to fight. Question from Paul, doesn't YouTube have a new feature that will remove? Yes, but that's more of a band-aid of an issue that needs stitches. It is like, that would be like, oh, should I go skydiving without a parachute? I would say no.
You get to trust YouTube with your parachute?
That's like, no, it's more like you watch the two people in front of you bungee jump and the cord snapped and you're like, well, I might be lucky. I wouldn't recommend it.
Tie it back into a knot. Yeah, I agree. So, like, you put your passion into your work, into your art, into the thing that you do, and then you're going to trust like a Gen 1 AI tool? I don't.
Yeah, I would be a little cautious. I think we can just give this to English Fun Zone because I don't want the review of myself. I think. So,
oh man, I was looking at Andrew. Maybe next time.
People are like, why don't you review your own channel? I'm like, well, I'm too biased, but when I've gotten reviews from others, I usually notice that it's in the B+ to A tier, depending who is graciously reviewing.
One thought real quick for comedian Miss Anita. Yeah. So one other thought on this right here. Not an easy solution by any stretch of the imagination, but if you get really good at sound recording, you could technically get yourself a mic setup that records like your voice very specifically. It's still going to have background issues, but you can technically get a mic that is going to record your voice, and then you could run that through some engineering stuff, really learn how to handle the sound stuff, and you could make that happen you just have to be educated. Like you really have to know what you're doing for that kind of audio isolation and engineering.
Yeah, and even so, the idea of fixing it in post, any editor will tell you, easier said than done.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
it's an uphill battle.
fix it in post is the same equivalent, in my opinion, to F it, we'll deal with it later, you know?
Hmm. Oh,
But
fix it in post. Just saying that is such a joke to anybody who's ever worked on like music or video or
oh
movies or
yeah,
TV.
I wish it
That's
was that. I do wish it was that easy.
yeah,
But I
maybe
think,
one day.
one day is the dream.
Mm.
With English Fun Zone here, immediately want to improve your English. I've been teaching since 2004. I've taught in China. I would say, welcome to English Fun Zone. Want to improve your English. I've been teaching since 2004. That's what I would change here. I think everything else is good. I think the most important is that quick mission statement that shows here. I don't think this is bad. That'd be the only thing I change because we want when people to type in, your name, it shows up. Next thing, I love how you have 25 pronunciation rules for general American English. Timestamp today's, love how you have this value. I would say, as a viewer on your channel, I think it might make a little more sense to have the timestamp above the About Me, especially when they make it to the channel page, so that they can see that you have YouTube chapters here, since you're using this as a channel trailer. So, wanted to say that. Welcome, Dip Vlogs. Welcome from Vietnam. What are your thoughts on using timestamps in a YouTube channel trailer here, Stanley?
That's an interesting one. I've never thought about it from the aspect of somebody actually watching that video. It's always been you are intentional about the things that you're trying to tell the person coming to the homepage, and I've never put any thought into them actually skipping through and watching it. It's always I kind of operate from the belief of like they are not going to watch it. So if they are not going to watch it, what is it that I need to do in order to fill that space, fill that void, help them with the, by concentrating on the community tab, by concentrating on making sure that all the playlist shelves on the homepage are full and where they need to be. So I've never even thought about that. That having been said, it's an opportunity. It is a thing to do. When you are given those opportunities, you definitely need to take advantage of them.
So I actually have some interesting points for the chat and you as well, Stanley. So YouTube says about only 10% will ever leave the homepage on your channel page. So that's why I focus so much on these 12 sections at top, because if only 10% ever click off, if we go back to our example of 10,000 people making it to your homepage, that's only 1,000 people that are going to make it. Yes, that's a lot of people, but the 9,000 other people are only ever going to see this section. It's not that those sections aren't important. It's just that we need to make sure we are nailing this first part so that they're inspired to go to the other part. I also think from a viewer perspective, if you mention it's timestamped, even in the description, I would like to see those timestamps almost follow it up. It's not that this About Me isn't important. I would just say that from a viewer POV, it should probably be at the bottom after the timestamps and after all these other videos, because the most important part is, especially if someone needs these rules, these shorthand, these chapters. And so we want to give the value immediately to the viewer, even on the channel homepage here, which can happen if you have this timestamps here. When we go
you
to
change them every month. I apologize, Andrew.
No worries.
English ones change these videos every month. Is that intentional? Is there a thing, or is it just like I made a new video, so I'm putting the new video up there?
I don't know.
I'm kind of curious about what is your process for selecting the video you use as your trailer?
Fair enough. I tend to make it a video that grows subscribers to the channel or is something I think new people need to hear.
Yep. I have fun with mine. Go ahead.
Oh, go. Oh, I was just going to say, I get tired of hearing the same video. That's hard. I hate that feature from YouTube that as the channel owner, we can't just pause it. But I know too many people complained of not seeing it, so they had to retroactively go back and do that because I got to ask. It was basically people complained that it wasn't showing up, but it was just you couldn't see it. So the solution is not any better. It's just unfortunately what they have to do because people just didn't understand it. And at the scale of YouTube with 2.4 billion people complaining about a thing, I wouldn't want to deal with that. I don't know about you, Stanley.
That's so funny. I didn't realize that was such a common problem. I have the same problem where I'm like, I get so sick of hearing that
So do
opening
I.
track over and over and over again. It's nice to know that that we're all in that together. I feel like
Looking
mine's worse.
here. Oh, sorry, Stanley. There's just a little
Go
bit
ahead,
of
go
a
ahead.
delay. I would say that is the members only videos are not bad to feature here. I would just say similar. I don't know if this is YouTube's default. I'm assuming it is. One thing to keep in mind if you have your members only videos, especially, is maybe have the why you should join your membership video first. Only because if I see that there's members only videos, a lot of people don't realize that it's members only. So it could cause the problem of, oh, I wanted to watch this, but I can't. Oh, they only care about a paywall. It can give the impression that you only want money. Not saying that's true, not saying any of that, but you got to remember, not a lot of people know about YouTube memberships. And so it's kind of challenging to have it so high up with that in mind. That would be my only flag, especially considering, most people on YouTube are also watching on phones. They may not see it because it's even tinier. Just keep those things in mind. What are your thoughts on the different playlists we're seeing here, Stanley?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking at here. Can you scroll down just a hair?
Yeah.
My system's lagging, so I can't pull up the channel. So this right here is something that we talked about like just a minute ago. Putting your best foot forward, in my opinion, and I don't mean to like kind of tack on the exact same thing that we talked about just a minute ago, but you've got this shelf of popular videos that this is literally like YouTube telling you and everybody else, this is, man, like you're going to check out this channel. This right here is the thing. That is the thing. Those popular videos, if you want to see something special from this person, that is it. And you've got it buried underneath past live streams. Now, you can create a live stream to cater towards an audience after it is no longer live. You can make that thing to where it is valuable for people to be able to watch. But it just, historically speaking, live streams do not get quite as many views after they are no longer live, specifically when, compared to like longer form videos and all the other kinds of content and everything on YouTube. So I'm like, I see this right here where you have past live streams on more important than popular videos. Like that needs to be up. You know what I mean? You need to get that best foot forward, get those videos up in front of the people who are going to see it.
Agreed. I also just noticed, because YouTube giving is still very new. Massive shout outs to DePaul in chat, who just gave $50 to the American Cancer Society. That is incredible. That is so graciously appreciated. It was an absolute honor to take a look at your channel. You have donated to an amazing cause, and apologize for a little bit of the delay. Again, the giving feature is a little newer. Not all the streaming tools have gone into it yet, but from the bottom of our hearts and to all the people you are helping, thank you.
Appreciate that personally.
We do. But I think what you said, Stanley, is very true, especially considering when people are looking. I love what you said about past live streams, especially because, to your point, the popular videos, I think this is maybe one you can lean with. I do think your recent videos, I'd probably do recent popular, then maybe your members only, just so that you're leading with a little bit more value to the viewer. Then I think you can have past live streams. I think your free English lessons, I think this is fine placement wise, and then shorts, but I would maybe look at which playlist, because YouTube gives us playlist analytics now. I think that I would look at which playlists are doing the best at converting people to, as Stanley mentioned earlier, to subscribers. I think it's such an easy thing to do. I think that that is one of those things that your goal, you're a teacher. And first off, thank you for teaching. Teaching is such underappreciated. Shout outs to teachers out there.
You deserve a huge pat on the back. You
do.
That's community service is what you do for a
You
living.
are. And you've been doing this for 20 years. So honestly, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. Shout outs to you. Shout outs to all teachers. I've had the
Mhm.
pleasure, and I'll say it's been a pleasure to look at your channel before. And I think that those are just some of those things that are super easy to do. One thing I also want to see is your short strategy, because I think some of those videos you have lean so well to YouTube Shorts. I see we have quite a bit. Take a look at some of the shorts that have really connected and consider, is there ways to add, longer term like videos around some of those popular one. So just some of the things to think there. Stanley, what do you think about shorts and what we're seeing here?
Oh, I don't like shorts.
Ah, poor Stanley.
I know. I've
Such
got to
an
put it.
interesting hot take. Mobile first, hate short.
I
You're a
know.
paradox,
I'm
my friend.
going. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be open and honest about it. And
Of course.
it's a hot take, and it's also it's not necessarily quite as biased as it sounds. Shorts are fine. Like, shorts are good so long as you understand and you are aware of what shorts are and what value they actually provide. When you get 10 million views on a shorts video, that doesn't. Yes, I am. I know. I'm a shorts hater. I am. Shorts are fine. And you know what? I like having a shorts shelf on your homepage. I like that it breaks up. It makes things look different. It gives you the ability to get in front of a different audience. I like that shorts videos give you you can have some fun with it. You can kind of change the perspective and the way that you do the content. I think it's fun. I am totally cool with all of that. I don't think it needs to be a shelf that is very high on your homepage. I think that it to be a little bit lower down. I post a lesson Monday short and a Wednesday on a short and Friday. So I love that. I love your use of that. And I also want to say that Andrew, he absolutely nailed it when he said, look at your playlist analytics if you're looking to reorganize the homepage and move some things around, per my advice. If Andrew, you need to check the analytics on that first, see what the analytics are looking like for those playlists. And if I am dead wrong, if your past live stream shelf is performing, if that playlist is performing better than the playlist of your popular videos, I give you free reign to completely destroy me in the Discord server. You get because that's the right answer. Check the analytics on that and adjust according to what the numbers are telling you. Because those aren't numbers; those are viewers. Those are human beings who are their views are telling you what you need to do based on that. And if shorts videos, if that shorts playlist, if you have an actual playlist of shorts videos and that thing's performing very well, then you move it up the list accordingly.
I have to agree. I also think your longer videos might make sense for a program like Opus Clip that can help you kind of go through, do captions, especially if people are trying to learn English, seeing the captions on screen, seeing kind of shorts are beautiful for a channel like this because it's so easily loopable that it helps, do those things in that way. I just started doing members only, so I didn't know where to put it. Thanks. Not sure if no is to Opus Clip or in general.
She's just talking about everything I said in general. She's just no.
And fair enough. Opus breaks up the material horribly. That's fair. If it's not working the ways you need it to, that is completely fair. I would just say use what works for you. You could remix it yourself through your long form and make shorts that way. That's a completely usable way. I know Opus has been getting better. Their newest version with Clip Anything has been super good. But again, I'm very biased. I'm an ambassador. Use what works for you. But I do think shorts are a great opportunity, especially the remix from a long form for you, just to have it where it can loop and people can view it and enjoy it. I think it's such an easy win. Looking at community, I think quizzes for an English speaking channel or teaching English is grammar rules, things like that, lean so well to quizzes that I implore you, call them pop quizzes. It's already in the learning genre. Pop quiz, what is the correct use of your here? Because that's got to be something that if I'm learning English, there is your. There's 3 different ways. Similar how there is 2, 2, and 2.
You
English
can have
is
so
fun.
much fun with that.
You really can. And because the quiz lets you have the correct answer, you can easily say, here's why this is the correct answer. This version of 2 doesn't work because of blank. This version of 2 doesn't work because of blank. It just lets you be a teacher, have a fun with a pop quiz, and it can go broader than your own audience. I think
Yep.
you are the perfect candidate for quizzes.
It 100% exactly everything he just said. Like look at channels who do a good job with their community tab. They're you'll see them out there. You know what? I'm going to give credit where credit is due. vidIQ does a fantastic job with their community tab, and you could literally like take what they do and just implement your thing that you do. You're teaching English, however you see that go in there, you can do that exact same thing and just follow their template. Like when they do this thing right here, you just slap your text right on top of their thing and you make your post.
And they do a good job, and they post frequently. To be fair, they have a very active audience, so YouTube recommends 1 every 3 for most channels. But if they have found success, which they clearly are with their likes, their views, good for them. What I would say is that a lot of the way they're using it is very smart. They're using it in ways that, you know, do copyright claims damage your channel? Very smart question. All of this makes sense. They clearly have a focus on community tab, and a lot of this, the more you use it, the more it helps you. So really good pick. And Stanley, we'll be reporting you to tube, buddy. I gotta tell you I'm just kidding. I love how people are like, there was never that much beef. I don't think there's that much beef today. At the end of the day, we're all trying to help creators, period.
Yeah, so for the record on that, a little clarity is I work at TubeBuddy.
Yes.
Thanks to Andrew, who's the one who hired me over there in the first place. And one of the things I love, it's not as fun anymore now because I've done it enough times, but we go to these conferences, and obviously TubeBuddy and vidIQ are both sponsors of these conferences. And I used to have, not that it's not fun now, but I used to have so much fun. Anytime I see Rob Wilson at one of those events, I go and I give him a big hug. Every time. I wish somebody would get a photograph. Like, I want that photograph. It hasn't happened yet, but and it's not as cringy now as what it kind of felt like early on, but I still do it to this day. Give him a big old hug because it's just fun.
The people at vidIQ are really good. People at TubeBuddy, Stanley's really good. They got good people. I got to say, they care. And so we joke and jest, but no, good people all around. But looking at the channel here, I think, you know, what we learned from vidIQ, there's a lot you can do here. I would love to see more quizzes. I think you could even, you know, I love this image of you near the wall. I would love to see like maybe like you drawing on a race board, a chalkboard, whatever works for you. Like you could make it like really feel like this is your classroom, decorate it. That's what I would tell you. With that, though, I think we're ready for a grade. It looks like the channel banner is glitching out. I'm going to blame YouTube on that more so than you. You see that?
No, you're going to get a big old F- on that banner. Oh.
I'm refreshing. All right, there we go. That was weird.
All right.
Hey, even live happens, YouTube. We get it.
Yeah.
I think it's time for a grade. Yeah, it was glitching out for me, too. Yeah, it was weird. No boards. Everyone does that. Hey, like I said, find what works for you. It's your classroom. Decorate it.
I appreciate that you're trying to do something different on that. I appreciate that you've identified that. You see that other people are doing it, and you know your niche. You know your area. Like I appreciate that you're able to stand right up and be like, oh, I know this already. Nuh-uh.
Well, I will say, if you want an example, try Microsoft Paint. There is a very, very famous YouTuber. His name is Pirate Software. He does a lot of shorts. And so hold on, let me go Pirate Software. Probably can. Yeah, here we are. He does a great job of showing and teaching people. A lot of what he does is like, he will have, if I scroll here, he draws in Paint, has himself up top, talks about results. This is something you could try. So it's one of those easy things that you can learn quite a bit. So I would just say all you have to consider is different ways that you can stand out in ways that are fun. And so he's someone that I think there's a lot of ways you can do it. For what I'm seeing though, I think I know my grade. I gave a grade first last time, Stanley. I'll lead to you. Look at us grading teachers now. What are we doing?
Okay, I'm gonna be critical on this one. I'm gonna be critical on this one. You know what you're doing. You know your
Mhm.
stuff. You are 661 videos in. This is not the first time I have seen you up in one of these streams with somebody talking about this stuff. I've seen you in these conversations, and I see you implementing this stuff. So I'm gonna say this is a solid B. There is obviously some
Wow.
work that needs to be done, some little things, and I know, like I see you. I want to say I've seen you give some of this advice to other channels and other streams. I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Me? I've given this advice?
English Fun Zone. If
I
maybe
have,
it was in the
yes.
Discord server.
No, I have given
Yeah.
advice
Okay.
before to English Fun Zone. I was going with an A, but I think the in between here is like an A minus to B plus. I think that's fair.
I might be a little overly critical on that one. I might be. I'm trying to be fair, and I might be overly critical, but I think a B plus is a very fair overall grade.
No, I think in if we are ever to improve, there's nothing. I don't think you're being critical. I think you're just giving what you have seen. I think that's all.
Mm.
The good thing is everything we said is all actionable, and you have a lot of room to go with. But action is one of those things we can all take, and hopefully after the stream today, a lot of people have found a lot of action. Stanley, I just wanted to say thank you so much. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Andrew's Discord server, the KDCC community. I am all
Thank you,
over the
Stanley.
place over there. And then, of course, if you want to check out my mobile YT, my mobile YouTube on YouTube, I do YouTube strategy for people who want to learn how to do YouTube things using their phone. And I've got a vlog channel I've talked about several times here, Stanley Orchard, if you like fishing stuff, but probably going to be a little bit more interested in this right here. And this is a new project that I'm kind of jumping into and having some fun with.
I unsubscribed to show people come subscribe to Stanley.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I am honored.
I think I was one of your first subscribers.
And
I remember I saw you launch
everybody
it.
here.
I remember when you launched
I was
it.
so
I'm like, I'm
nervous.
subscribing. I subbed
I was so
immediately.
nervous.
No, you're doing great. Please check out Stanley's
I
channel.
appreciate that.
But thank you, Stanley, for joining us. Thank you, everyone who has learned today, who has donated, was here for the great discussions. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you, and we hope you have a great day.